Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
Important. And moving on here as we are just getting closer to showtime. The lovely Jenny Whitebear. Lovely Lauren, how you doing? Go 66. Boo to you. And I mean that in a positive way. Ian Burwell, thanks for coming on in. The gorgeous Tammy Finnegan, nice to have you back. Sweet Donnie D, what's happening? Molotov, it's been a while. Nice to have you back here. Glenn John McEnroe, the pride of Wimbledon. Double Tim, nice to have you here. And Sir Brian Bowden, there he is, 18,486 podcasts, all broadcasting simultaneously. Stu Gerson, right there. Hey, Batmon, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. Really do appreciate that. The super chat is a great way to support what we do here on a nightly basis, and it really supports what we do. Thank you so much. Chuck Elliott, good to see you. I'm going to miss a few here because we got to get going. Let's get ready to get your horns up. Steve Stockton, KPNL. Here we go, everyone. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, at KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. The man known as the Crypto Guru is back. One of my favorite friends and authors, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. He is known as the Guru around here because literally he is the guru when it comes to everything cryptid, paranormal, supernatural, and he writes about it, and this is why he is an award-winning author. A scholarly man, he takes his words very delicately and literally romanticizes the monsters that scare us at night. And we are so proud to have him here telling us some fabled stories as we get into lake monsters, sea monsters, and any monster that our audience wants to hear of later on in the show. The Guru, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm awesome, man. You're far too kind, as a matter of fact. Every time I'm on here, you give me a glowing review, and you have my head swollen for about a week and a half. But there's truly no place I'd rather be at 12 a.m. my time until 3 o'clock my time than with you and your Spaced Out listeners, Spaced Out Radio listeners. I cannot wait.
Well, you know what? I want people to get to know you a little bit because you are an educated man. I believe you have your master's in, is it history?
I do, yeah. And I actually it was 2 years in August. I got my master's in counseling from Temple University. So I've been doing a lot. I worked with families for most of my adult life, working with at-need and at-risk children, and I've been working as an elder advocate for a number of years as well. So a lot of the things that people wouldn't know about me is that I deal a lot with childhood education, and not only with the education of children, but also in the realms of making sure that these children are taken care of. So I work with families who are at risk for whatever reasons, whether it's poverty or whether it's some sort of substance abuse, trying to get them on the right track. And just trying to be the voice for a lot of people that have been silenced for too long.
That's awesome, buddy. That is completely awesome that you take the time to do that, because I know as a single father of 5, your day is already busy. Where do you find time to write between all of this?
I think about that as well, too. I always have a little notebook with me. So even if I can't, whip out the computer, I have my little notebook to jot down ideas. It is difficult. But I think there's a passion there. You have to have a passion. If you don't, then none of this stuff will come to fruition. I have a passion for helping people, and I also have a passion for writing. And I think that whenever you have those kind of diversities in your life, you'll make time to make sure that both of them get addressed. Now, the one problem that I have in working my real job is there's a lot of toxicity in there. You have things like called hereditary toxicity that is very contagious. So there are times whenever I have to take a time out and I have to just sit back and say, okay, I can't do this right now. And that happens a good bit. You have to take some personal time for healing. But really one of the ways that I heal and that I kind of work at my own self-awareness is through my writing. So it's kind of a therapy for me.
Everybody needs an escape. You use monsters as an escape. Why did you choose monsters to write about? Yeah. And not just fabled stories, but you're going after real monsters that people are having alleged encounters with.
Right. Well, I think that's something that's been instilled with me since I've been a kid with my mom. My mom would, she was a fanatic whenever it came to stories of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and UFOs. And she really was there in my formative years, not only, to show me about the books and read these books to me, but also, let me see all these great movies like The Legend of Boggy Creek whenever I was just a kid. And this really kind of formalized who I was going to be. So what I did, and everybody has this natural fear of the dark. And what I do, even to this day, I still sleep with a nightlight on. But what I try to do is shed a little bit of light into those shadows. Find out what's over there. Because what haunts me and what terrifies me is the same thing that haunts you and terrifies you. And whenever you connect all the dots, it seems as if these are the same things that haunt us throughout the ages and across the world, regardless of creed or color or whatever. So it's part of our human identity, these monsters are. And I've said before that they are actually embroidered into our DNA. These creatures need us as much as we need them. And whenever I say that we need them, is they put us in our place. They remind us that we have not conquered every single mystery in life. They remind us of our own mortality. And they also remind us, they're also a warning of what we can be if we continue to go down the road that we are on. A lot of these creatures like vampires and werewolves, at the end of the day, it is almost like a Scooby-Doo cartoon, and you take off the werewolf mask or the vampire mask, and lo and behold, there is a regular human being underneath there. We project a lot of ourselves onto these so-called monsters. They take the place of what we don't want to admit that human beings are capable of doing. We are a very heinous species that can do incredibly bad things, as well as doing incredibly noble and worthwhile things. So these kind of monsters encapsulate the good in us and the bad in us. And that is really the kind of way I approach the paranormal. And a lot of people don't do it that way. I look at the archetype. I look to see how these monsters have evolved over the millennia and what they mean to us this very day. And whenever I do my research, I try to go back as far into the historical record as I can, look at archaeological evidence and hints and conjectures that are out there regarding these creatures that have all but lost in the sands of time.
Normally, I don't take questions for hour number 2, but you brought up the fact that you still sleep with a nightlight.
Sure.
So Sky Sights over on Twitch, tuning us in, and thank you, Sky Sights, for joining us tonight, says, I got a question. Where do you think the idea of closing your eyes for safety from certain creatures comes from?
That's actually a very, very good idea, a very good notion. So it's probably very ancient. I do know for a fact, and I will give you a precedent on this. It was believed in the Middle Ages and in the Renaissance particularly that magic was something that happened internally on the person. And we projected into the world this particular magic. And a lot of people saw as this projection as through the eyes. The eyes are the gateway to the soul. And by closing our eyes, we do not allow what is inside of us to appear or materialize within our own world. I think that's where a lot of it comes from. But I think whenever we look at this from a purely biological level, is that we're taking control of the situation. We are not admitting that something is out there. It's the same way whenever you were a kid and you thought that there was something in your closet, so you pulled the covers up over your head. I think that we as a species have collectively pulled the cover up over our head. And I believe that in order to get to this truth out there, we need to take a peek over the covers every once in a while. We have to take a peek in the closet, and we have to become friends with that monster that lives under our bed.
The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is here with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I haven't slept with a nightlight for a long time, but, man, there are times when I've woken up out of bed, man, and I swear there's monsters around. When you get that feeling, and many of us do, we chalk it up to nightmares, we chalk it up to imagination. How many times are those monsters really there, my friend?
Well, see, these are all very interesting questions, and I'm glad that we're getting right to the heart of the matter, very early in. But that is really what I'm getting at, Dave. So we have this instinct within us to feel that there's something out there that is beyond our control. So it's that ancient flight or fight response that we have latent in all of us. It originates the time that we were still in the savannah and we were not the apex predator, and we were prey to other creatures. And it's kind of that tingling sensation that that there's something out there, and it's for self-preservation. Something is triggering that. What that something is, I do not know. I've never encountered a monster, even though that I have had this, these experiences, these feelings. But something biologically in me is telling me that there is danger out there. Now, is this something that's vestigial and it's rather atrophied and every now and then kicks on for no apparent reason? I don't think so. I think that there is something out in that environment that we call life that is unexplained, uncontrollable, and possibly even unknowable, that we can sometimes tap into, and we know that it's not in our best interest to go any further.
Okay, so if we know it's in our best interest not to go any further, how do we define, as we try to draw that line of sanity to insanity, if I could use those terms, what is real and what is imagination?
Right.
Because I can tell you, point blank, I have had experiences where I have woken up in the middle of the night and I've been so afraid that if I look down the hall that there's going to be an alien over there, that I literally throw the covers over my head.
Right.
I've had that experience. I have had other experiences, where I'm lying in bed and all of a sudden I felt my leg get picked up.
Yes.
And I said, not tonight. Can you please put my leg down? And my leg goes back down. Freaked me right out.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had that. So, and a lot of other people have had other same type of similar occurrences. So how do we know what is real, true, and what is just, fallacy?
Right. Well, how do we know that those experiences aren't genuine? How do we know that what we are thinking in our mind isn't actually the fact that's going on? People used to say about, night terrors and all this other stuff, that, it's caused by this sleep paralysis. But how do we know that the essence of all this stuff, the essence of the succubus and the incubus, still isn't with us today? and we simply write them off because it's so archaic that we have to ascribe to it a new name now. I'm really not of the opinion that all of our experiences are made up or psychological or in the mind. How do we know that there's not an alien down the hallway? Or how do we know that something has not seeped into our world while we're laying in bed? See, these are all questions that I keep on coming up with. And whenever I keep the nightlight on, that's a little bit of that demarcation between my world and their world that I'm hoping that there's an unspoken trust there that they will not infringe upon. But absolutely, my friend, look, these stories have been going on since the very beginning of history. One of the first things that's ever been written down, as part of the human being, is talking about, wild man encounters in the Epic of Gilgamesh. So there is definitely something out there that has been haunting us, and not just individuals, but haunting us as a human race. And we've called them monsters, but I think there is something much more elemental to it than just being monsters. I think it's something that we are aware of instinctually, but we have not put a name on it yet. So I have no reason to doubt that if a person says they have this feeling that there's something in that room with them, that it could be actually something more than just a feeling.
Well, let me ask you, because we have a hidden obsession, each and every one of us, of the love of getting scared. Mm-hmm. We watch horror movies, suspense movies, everything from Nightmare on Elm Street to Insidious to Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. Mm-hmm. And we love being scared. We love having that feeling of fright. Does that play a role into these monsters that we want to see and our imagination creating them for us, or is there a lot more reality to it?
Well, from a biological point of view, the same area of our brain that elicits fear is the same part of our brain that gives us joy and happiness. So it's almost like that entertainment section of our brain. For instance, like a lot of people, whenever they go on roller coasters, they'll laugh. Or if they go into a haunted house and something jumps out of them, they'll have that nervous laughter. That's because it comes from the same place. I think, these are all very difficult questions. I think that when we start dissecting them, they become even more complicated. Because our world is so crazy, it seems as if monsters have become our entertainment. If we think about a few years ago, whenever the world started to go a little bit haywire and zombies became the big thing, right? And zombies are really another version of us. They are the monster without the mask, and their origin story is the same origin stories of us. So these kind of creatures show us what happens in a world that is upside down, and it's confusing. The same way with this idea of these UFOs and these UFO reports coming out. One of the reasons why these things are being slowly leaked out, I think, is to not only to appease people's curiosity, but also a little bit to show that we really don't know what's going on out there. So, again, Dave, this is a very difficult situation, a very difficult question. But culturally, we need these monsters to represent something that we're lacking or something that we are afraid of. And that's one of the reasons why I write about this stuff, because these same monsters have existed throughout the ages. They're just interpreted differently by different cultures at different times.
So if I listen to what you're saying, are you saying that we are more creating our own tulpas?
In many cases, I think, especially, I've been investigating hauntings for a while. And about 95% of the hauntings that I investigate, and you probably know this from experience as well too, they're not terrifying. Usually whenever somebody encounters a force that they consider a ghost, it's usually something that's very reassuring. There's usually a little instance of fear there because it's something out of the usual, but it's never something to be terrified about. Now, you have that 5% whenever people talk about demons and such. I believe that those, rare 5% of hauntings are creations from our own mind that are unleashed into this world. And I think that tulpas do exist. I mean, this is actually coming from Eastern philosophy. In many cultures, things such as the Yeti are believed to be tulpas because so many people believe in that kind of creature that straddles the world between the mundane and the supernatural or the metaphysical. So I think that we can indeed project from ourselves these types of creatures onto the world around us. But a tulpa is far different than an archetype. And what my main interest is, the idea of the archetype is something that is relatively unchanging and relatively rigid in the way that they have been portrayed over the years, like werewolves and wild men. And if we get into the idea of sea monsters and lake monsters later, these creatures very, very rarely change. One creature that we can really look at and discuss about how an evolution happens is with the chupacabra. This is kind of like the new kid on the block. And originally it was identified and described as something that looked like almost like a satanic porcupine. It had this long flickering tongue and these big red eyes, and it was covered in these kind of sharp spines. And now it has evolved into this blue dog that runs amok in Texas, So we see that the evolutions do happen here. And our culture will define what kind of monster they want to have. So I think a chupacabra in and of itself could never be identified as an archetype. Possibly what it stands for could, but not an archetype in and of itself. And that's the reason why I look at things like witches and the things like vampires and lake monsters and such, because very rarely do they change year to year or a subsequent generation to generation.
We got 2.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is with us. And, Ron, right before we go to the break where we're going to switch over to sea monsters, for you...
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
Escape to a world of magic and imagination. Encounter wild beasts and daring space rangers. Escape to your happy place at Walt Disney World Resort.
How much fun is it researching all of these childhood monsters?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, whenever I first started it, and I did it as a form of catharsis. That's the reason why I go into the woods and why I do the things that I do, is because as a kid, I was naturally attracted to Bigfoot, but I was, naturally repulsed by something like that as well, too, and very fearful of such a thing that lived out in the woods. So one of the reasons why I go out there is to find proof of what kind of things are out there. And it's awesome. I mean, this is the best job in the world to research. I never see it as work. I see it as almost, almost like a fun endeavor for me to go and research for hours on end about these creatures that I've had such a close relationship with.
No, very true, very true. For you, as you have battled to gain your ground in the popularity level of this field, what has been your biggest success so far?
I think finding my little niche there and coming at the world of the paranormal in the way that I do. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm an expert on all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that, I've encountered any of these creatures. I'm saying that these are all question marks out there. So I approach the world of the paranormal the same way your listeners do, with a lot of questions and with a lot of research to do to try to get to the bottom of this. And I'm also very content on never getting to the bottom of this. This might be something that always is a mystery. And in a way, I'm kind of happy if it is always a mystery, because we shouldn't, as a human being, know everything that's out there. There should always be these hidden places that keep us honest.
Oh, very true. Very true. In a field where there's a lot of dishonesty, trying to be honest is one of the hardest parts of what we do on a daily basis, because you're always fighting it.
That's right. And I think that that's the thing. And that's a good point that you made there. And I think that that was very eloquently said as well. Like, how do you find your niche in this field? Because there's so many people occupying almost every angle. I think the way to do it is you maintain your honesty, you maintain your integrity, you don't go off the deep end, and you definitely don't go around pretending that you know everything, and you also don't go around gallivanting that you're there to summon demons and things like that, like a lot of ghost hunters are doing.
The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. When we come back, Guru is going to give us some time on sea monsters, lake monsters, everything from the Kraken and Chupacabra to the lizard-like beings swimming in our lakes of North America. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. That was a fast half hour.
That was very fast.
Looking good, Guru.
I appreciate that, man. And a lot of people are still staying on. Nobody said, "Oh, this show sucks," and jumped off, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Excellent.
Not yet.
Wow, we hit that hard the first half hour. That was some pretty deep stuff there.
We did. That's okay, though. We can take that.
Yeah, we can take that. These listeners can take that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the Dirt Road Mystics said fantastic show. And see, I like that kind of feedback. Normally, whenever I do any kind of shows, you don't get that kind of immediate feedback. And I do like to see that.
Hello, gorgeous Jennifer Hawkins. The stunning Katie is back. How are you? The lovely Helena. Okay, Jeremy Jones. Ronald looks like he's going to take us on a safari.
We are a safari of the mind.
Mm-hmm. People love their guru, man. You can't make this shit up. People love their guru. Yancey, how you doing, buddy? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like Bat Mom. She throws in a super chat earlier on in the show, and then she goes, "This show sucks." Just kidding, she says. Just kidding. You stunned me there for a second, gorgeous Bat Mom. Stunned me there for a second. I like YJ here. YJ's in British Columbia here. Tonight's guest looks like he could take down a Wolverine with his bare hands.
Bare hands, man. Bare hands. Absolutely. That's the reason. That's the way I want to look. Because obviously I could not do that. I'll give you a little bit of I guess a confession here. I do not own a toolbox. Not only do I not own a toolbox, I don't know how to use most tools.
Me either.
So see, that's good. So we need to look like we can fight off Wolverine. So that increases our street cred.
Well, absolutely. Unless you live in a big city where you got to deal with the hipsters. That's exactly the only problem. Yeah. All right. Hey, Brian Bowden has a new podcast called "How Can You Not Love This Great Guy" podcast, starting up in about 6 minutes here. All right, that'll be number 19,991 for him. Yeah,
he's doing one right now. Hey, get it if you have Joe Monk says, yeah. I love that. We need to talk about that because I actually do have some stories regarding that.
Well, let's get it. We'll get into this right off the bat. We'll get into that, and then we'll get into the sea monsters here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Stu Gerson says he loves the Guru's hat. Yep. And, I'll tell you the reason why Ronald Murphy is such a brilliant man. He agrees with me 100% that no one should ever eat breakfast foods for dinner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not even that fancy French stuff, you know. If it has egg in it, it needs to be eaten before 11 o'clock in the morning.
Agreed. You know, between you and me, Guru, some of these people eat breakfast for dinner. You know that.
Oh, I know. I've heard stories.
I know.
I've heard stories of pancakes and syrup for no.
Just horrible.
It is.
Bacon is universal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like O positive or O negative blood. It's universal.
Somebody said it, but chicken has egg in it. That is actually pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Look at Helena there. Y'all are crazy. Had breakfast for dinner tonight. Hey, Snakes on a UFO. How you doing, buddy? Enjoying the suckiness of this show. Oh, man. And Celine, that's disappointing. That's me. I'm a breakfast for dinnerer. Oh. Yep. Brian Bowden has another new podcast starting at 11:30 Pacific called I Eat Breakfast for Dinner 24/7.
Live from IHOP.
Yep, live from IHOP. I don't know how he does it.
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I had a conversation with him on the phone the other day, and I think he was doing 2 podcasts while I was on the phone with him.
It does not surprise me.
Yeah.
And you know he's killing himself laughing right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Hold on one second, Guru. Thank you, Linda, Swampy, Batmom, Murray, and Black Dragon for the amazing super chats. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always avoiding breakfast for dinner on this end. I want to remind you that if you miss more portions of this show, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, as we are rocking it on out with the guru. And we're going to get to sea monsters momentarily, but there was a question from Joe in California asking, are there any plant cryptids? Guru.
Yeah, whenever I saw that question, I was so excited because whenever I was a little fella, and I'm talking about before I was even in kindergarten, my grandmother would read me this book about somebody. It obviously was somebody in. I think it was written by a British fellow that was in Africa at the turn of the 18th century. It might be 19th century. Anyways, the who wrote it really was meaningless, but he would often talk about legends of man-eating plants, and those were the kind of things that were really filling my mind with my imagination whenever I was a kid, thinking about plants that were out there that were capable of consuming human beings. Now, I will tell you, so far, no plants have been found that were capable of eating human beings. But there are some interesting tidbits that come out. Now, I, for one, am a huge proponent of carnivorous plants. I have several different varieties. I'm a big fan of the Venus flytraps, but we can get these things called pitcher plants that are quite big. So big, in fact, that a fairly large mouse could go into one. There is a story that happened, and this is only about 10 years ago, and it's a shame that our buddy Brian Bowden is not on here because he might be able to give some input on this. But somebody was in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, and they claimed whenever they were out hunting, they found something that looked very similar to a pitcher plant. that actually had a deer within it. So how these things lure animals in there is they usually put out a foul smell. I was on an investigation one time whenever we came across some naturally occurring pitcher plants. And I thought, I don't know what these, I have to find out what the big deal is. So I took a smell of it, and the smell was the worst smell you could possibly come up with. It smelled like rotting meat, but it was so bad that it actually gave me a sinus headache for about a week. So there's plants out there that are capable of doing some extraordinary things. And like I said, I have plants here that would be capable of consuming a large rodent. Now, in the wild, out in the middle of nowhere, is it capable that some of these plants are big enough to take down a bigger animal? Well, of course there are, of course. But it is fascinating that there are plants out there that are indeed cryptozoological because they're unknown or undiscovered or lost to science.
I want to ask you a question because there's a few researchers out there, and we've talked about it, we haven't talked about this for a long time on the show, who are looking into these trail cam videos, Ron, where all of a sudden on the trail cam videos, you'll see a tree right in front of you. And then all of a sudden the tree has, say, moved over to its left or moved over to its right. And then in the next frame, it's right back to where it was. Or sometimes the trees even vanish and then reappear. Have you ever looked into that?
I did. You know what? So a lot of people think that the camera has somehow moved. But I've seen enough of these things to where it appears as if like the environment itself has changed, right? I mean, that's the way it looks to you, right? I mean, it looks as if the entire environment has changed and then kind of reestablished itself. Now, there's one particular area very close to where I live that I do a lot of investigations where people claim that the forest moves. That's their word whenever they're out there doing some walking. And I've talked to somebody who is actually a principal at our local school, and she and her family became lost. Now, she's a PhD holder, so she's an intelligent woman. But she and her family became lost overnight in the woods, which is probably about 10 miles away from the nearest Walmart. And she said that she went in there, and the forest itself seemed to move, that she could not find her way back out again. And we're talking about not old growth forest. We're talking about, this is like third or fourth growth forest. This isn't like the redwood forests of Northern California. So I have heard this many times, Dave, and the only thing that I can say is there's enough anecdotal reports out there to suggest there's something going on. But I've heard reports of trees walking. That's actually a fairly ancient belief as well, too. Back in the Middle Ages, it was believed that weeping willow trees could uproot themselves and they in turn would walk. I mean, there's some very ancient beliefs about this kind of stuff. In Greece, it believed that oak trees were able to talk to you. We don't really look at the world with the eyes of the ancient world anymore. We don't raise our own animals. We don't have to go out into the woods to grab firewood. Well, at least most of us don't.
I do.
So, yeah, I know. That's what I was going to say.
I'm going out this weekend.
There you go. But there's an intimacy there, right? I mean, anytime you go out into the woods and you rely on the woods, there becomes this intimacy, this kind of exchange, this kind of norm of reciprocity. We do not have a relationship with the world around us anymore. But I think that the deeper you get into that connection between humans and the natural world, you find out that it is almost like interpersonal relationships. And I think that the natural world can do some amazing things. And if somebody told me that there was a tree out there that was walking almost like the Ent in the Lord of the Rings, from Tolkien, he was pulling on Eastern and Western European traditions to create these kind of things. So that is part of the vernacular of the paranormal about trees being able to move and switch and walk and everything else.
All right, let's get to Nicole's question. She is asking, what are the guru's thoughts about different spiritual rituals being used as contact modalities for ET human experience, and which works best? Now, I'm going to forewarn you, Nicole loves cooking breakfast for dinner.
Oh, Nicole. Okay, well, we should talk about the spiritual modalities that would allow you to do such things, Nicole. Because at that point, the idea of cooking dinner for breakfast, Dave, you know what? If we do a thing out in Vegas,
yes,
we should have. I was going to say we should have a dinner for breakfast just to show everybody, or a breakfast for dinner just to show everybody how bizarre it is. But I think what we should really do is show people. I have like a little conference about why not to do such.
Well,
things.
Guru, that if we end up doing that, that's going to take a lot of alcohol, and I don't even drink.
Right. That's right. Well, actually, if there's any lucky ladies out there, whenever you and I are in town, they might be having some breakfast for dinner, if you know what I'm talking about. So anyways, Nicole, so what are your thoughts about spiritual rituals? Okay, so I am open to the possibility that we can communicate. There's a transcendency there. I really don't know what extraterrestrials are. I mean, just from the term that they're not of this world, but I've not completely ruled that out. I think that we're dealing with something that very might possibly be part of our world. It's just not within our realm of thinking about how this kind of stuff works. But I think there has to be a necessary transcendence there, that we have to open our mind and allow ourselves to ascend to that particular plane where these other creatures obviously are interacting at, especially if we're talking about interdimensionality. But yeah, it's a very good question. It's a very complicated question. You can look at, and a lot of the things I study is the role of the shaman in ancient worlds, in ancient lifeways. And what their take on the world is that they had to enter a certain type of trance in order to ascend or transcend into the world of the gods or the world of supernatural beings. And this is something that's common from Australia to Africa, South America. It's common in all cultures. But the idea is that you have to enter a certain state of being and a certain mindset to allow your mind to be free, to go places where it's not contained by the human body. So
interesting. You're getting a lot of play for that comment. Chad Smith here. Welcome to Playboy Radio.
I simply meant that we would be up all night talking about the different spiritual modalities to contact extraterrestrials.
Obviously you did. That's the way I took it. Let's get into sea monsters here.
Nice.
Right? Because, Ron, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a deathly fear of sea monsters. And it grinds my teeth to say this, but my middle daughter is now debating whether or not she's going to join the Royal Canadian Navy.
Oh, right.
Which I think is great, because I think her the military would be right up her alley. And she loves the ocean. I don't know why. She was out fishing off the off of Victoria the other day with her boyfriend, and I think he's a boyfriend. I can't keep up anymore, right? And long story short, I'm like, hey, if you see any fins, man, you get the hell out of there, because Megalodon lives. So never mind just great whites. And yes, they do come into the southern part of Canada here.
Yeah.
I don't like that. It just can't even say it properly. Ugh. Anyways, there's a lot of monsters out there that people claim to see, whether it's Ogopogo, whether it's Champ, whether it's a lot of the weird, strange creatures that are seen around the Great Lakes. I mean, where do we even start with this impressive conversation?
It's nearly impossible to start anywhere with this, because it's so mired in mythologies from around the world. Now, I will tell you that, the first book that I wrote was at my daughter's behest, and that was on mermaids, so that was kind of like the first time I endeavored to investigate the worlds that exist under the waves. But what was interesting is that we can find rock paintings dating back maybe 20,000 years ago in sub-Saharan Africa, whenever it was actually a lot closer to the ocean and it was very lush and tropical, that shows things very similar to what we would call mermaids.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
It was, a humanoid body with the lower part of the body that looked like a fish. Now, contemporary anthropologists and archaeologists would say they were representations of birds. Possibly they were. I mean, I guess you could kind of see that these were bird representations. But to me, from an initial look, it looks as if it's trying to depict something that's half human and half seagoing. But so my interest in these kind of monsters began with mermaids, because if we go back, that's probably the first kind of tale that was told. There was something like us that was living underneath the ocean. But then we look at things like the Kraken, and we know that the giant squid is out there, the Architeuthis, right? We know that it exists, but we've only known that it exists probably in the past decade. Whenever some pictures were taken and, some things started to wash up on shore. But these monsters can get to prodigious lengths. We know this because we have captured blue whales that have battle marks on them from them doing, battle with these kind of creatures, deep in the ocean. Where do we start? We could talk about the giant squid. We could talk about
here's one.
Megalodon.
Here's one. Zune in the chat room is asking if you know anything about the Lusca, which is like a half great white shark, half octopus.
Yeah, the Sharktopus from the Sci-Fi Channel. I don't know. These kind of chimeras, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about as well too tonight. Is a lot of these monsters through the ages become associated with something else that is extremely terrifying. So you have these monsters that are kind of mixed up to have a kind of an extra scare factor. I don't think biologically that works. I don't think that it would that nature would kind of select itself to have such a creature. But what is amazing is the shark species that we are finding out there. We know about the Greenland shark, we know about the goblin shark, and there's these really strange sharks that show up every now and then that appear more weird than the last one that was found. We know the Greenland shark has, probably one of the oldest living animals out there that maybe can go 500 or 600 years old. And we know that there's other sharks out there that are, existed from the fossil record that is still moping around. But the megalodon is really one of my favorite kind of sea creatures because whenever I was a kid, originally they were supposed to be as long as a school bus, and 4 or 5 people could stand up upright within their jaws. Now that has actually been kind of questioned by science, that it might have had this huge mouth, but they may not have been this bulky kind of creature. They might have been more streamlined and much more shaped like a great white shark, so they could attack, very, very swiftly. If that is the case, I would say that it's possible that the megalodon could still be out there someplace. And I think a lot of people in your chat room would say the same. I know that we are finding a lot of megalodon teeth, especially in places like New Jersey for whatever reason. And now, of course, these are fossilized teeth. But, I would think that more people that are out there beach combing and everything, it might be interesting if one day they pull out of the sand a megalodon tooth that was fresh. Now, that would not be great. I'm hoping something like that happens someday. But for the megalodon to exist, they would have to be in the extremely open oceans where nobody would come in contact with them. And unlike the movie The Meg, although Brian Bowden and I did have the author of the book Meg on our show a few years ago, a very intelligent human being, but he proposed that these kind of megalodons, if they do exist, would live in the deep abysmal region of the ocean, where light doesn't trickle down. I don't think that is, in fact, the case. I think that one of the reasons these creatures would not be seen is because they would be avoiding, any kind of contact with our ships and such, because all these kind of things that human beings put out in the water have a particular sonar signature to them, and that can irritate things. So they probably try to avoid us as much as possible. But I think these creatures will be in the very open, deep ocean, and I think that sooner or later, if one of these things are out there, we are going to cross paths with it.
Well, there is rumor that there is a super shark out there, bigger than a great white, smaller than a megalodon, that grows between 25 and 35 feet long. And they believe that this is a new hybrid species of what is going on in the oceans, because there's a lot more weird, strange attacks that are happening on these creatures and on whales and other sorts that lead to the fact that there is a larger shark out there that is more aggressive. Could we be seeing these popping up soon?
I think so. Now, let's look at this for a bit, and this is a very interesting point that you made. So people have reported seeing great white sharks that were bitten in half. We're talking about a great white shark that is the size of an apex predator out there, right? We're talking about a 20-foot great white shark that is nearly bitten in half by another animal, right? That's some scary stuff. There was also research done on a shark that had a tracking device in it. I don't know if you ever went over this on your show or not. But all of a sudden, as they were tracking this shark, the temperature changed. It got much, much warmer. And then the tracking signal took a very abrupt dive deep down into the ocean. And the assumption is something grabbed this shark. That's why the temperature changed on the device. And then the depth dropped because it was taking it down in the deep ocean to feed upon it. That's scary stuff. I mean, and we know that this actually happened. We don't know what caused it, but we know that it did happen. So a couple things could be happening here about these super sharks. From an adaptation point of view, it's very probable that the world's oceans would not sustain a shark the size of Megalodon. So through natural selection over the past, 100,000, 200,000 years, they've simply downsized, which is an extreme possibility. Or the other point that you made, due to global climate change, that two very unlike sharks that don't encounter each other very often now are forced to intermingle with each other and have interbred to create a new species of shark, which is also very probable. And we know these kind of things happen because there are now hybrids of the grizzly bear and the polar bear, which is very rarely, if ever, seen. But because of global warming, the ecosystems of these animals are now overlapping where one time they never did. So we're now seeing these very supersized bears. Some of these bears are so large that a polar bear, now, of course, these things can stand 12 feet tall. These are huge, huge animals. Some of these skulls are being found of these super bears that a polar bear skull could fit inside of the mouth of these super bears. So there's strange things going on out there.
Does the mating kind of happen? Like, okay, if we have, say, a 6'8" tall man and a 6'2" woman, the chances or the genes that their children have will be that those children should be very tall, if not
Right.
taller. Do you think this is what's happened in the oceanic community, where maybe you get a 18-foot great white male, the females are bigger, you get a 20-foot great white female, that could learn to create a larger shark.
Mm-hmm.
Could it work
Sure.
the same way?
Yeah, I mean, what would happen if we have a great white shark and a tiger shark? Or what happens if we have a great white shark and maybe another species of shark we haven't even classified yet coming together? These are all extremely possible things to happen. It all really comes down to the fact of what kind of species are interlapping at a particular place at a particular time. But the idea of a great white shark and a tiger shark is something that's always fascinated me.
Let's go into the Great Lakes here, because the Great Lakes, as we will continue this chat next hour, all right, the Great Lakes have a lot of mysteries, a lot of First Nations mysteries, a lot of legends, a lot of folklore. A lot of people believe there's portals that allow these monsters and these UFOs to come in over there. I mean, everybody knows the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald and the Witch of November. I mean, sea monsters have been seen in the lakes, especially Lake Superior. And they're a creepy place, man. They're a creepy, creepy place. And I want to get into what you've learned about these monsters out there, because I still think there's a major book there for sea monsters of the Great Lakes, man. We got about 20 seconds.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a little bit of hint about it. So I was doing a conference up in Sault Ste. Marie in Michigan, but I never really gave lake monsters much of a thought. And the conference was actually held on a Native American Indian reservation, the Ojibwa. And it was from me talking to those very beautiful people and hearing their stories about lake monsters that prompted me to write my book on the monsters of the Great Lakes. So we'll have to talk all about that.
For sure. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, an encyclopedia of cryptid information from North America and around the world. You can go on Amazon, find any of his books at Ronald L. Murphy Jr. We'll be back with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio and the Guru right after this. All right, we're clear.
All right. Let me see what people are saying here. Boy, your people are really on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, they're pretty brilliant, man.
Yeah. Bob Birkins called something a king shark. You know what? I like the idea of that, Bob. I don't know where Bob is from, but I think that is.
He's from Quebec.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. I will have to applaud him on that. I like that term very much. That two shark species that if this is indeed the case, they are interbreeding. I think the name king shark is very appropriate.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Kat wants to know, when are you selling your hats, Guru? Autograph.
in Vegas.
No way, man. I'm stealing that hat.
There's more than one.
Yeah, I'm stealing that badass, because that's at least a size 8. You got a good size.
It is 8. You're right on the bottom. Yep.
See, that'll fit me.
Yes.
That would fit me. Lori Oliphant, how are you? Welcome to the show. Yes, the fake Robert Salas. Just want to say, great show. Hope to be on soon. You got too many S's on your name to be the real Robert Salas, just so you know. Right. And else we got here? God, I hate sea monsters, man. Hate them.
Yeah, sea monsters are scary, man. I love the ocean, but I'm actually very afraid of the ocean as well.
Oh, man. Tell me about it. Hey, thank you, GFGFGFGFGFGFG, for that awesome super chat. Really appreciate that. And thank you for your love and support of this show, man. Thank you. That's awesome. We're going to do a little bit more sea monsters, GFG. Then I will get to your question right after that. I've swam in 2 lakes that have sea monsters in them. And now thinking about it, that was just dumb. What happened to the moose oil? My beard. I trim my beard. I don't moose oil when my beard is this small. Any reports of earthquakes in Newfoundland tonight? I haven't checked. There's a new podcast for Brian. Earthquake Central with Brian Bowden. God, I don't know how he does it, man. I don't know how he does it.
He's on the scene now.
He's on the scene too.
Yeah.
The Bowden copter gets him everywhere he needs to go.
He already has an ID around his neck and everything like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely he does. Hey, Dirty Filth, how you doing? How you feeling, buddy? Give me a thumbs up if you're doing okay. Dirty, dirty filth, what's with you? Yeah, Kira, Dave hates the ocean. Hates the ocean. It's nice in pictures. It's beautiful in pictures. But you know what? Behind every beautiful wave, there is a shark willing to eat you. Crunch time. How you doing, buddy? Joshua S., good to see you. Sir Brian Bowden, the Bowden copter en route. Thanks, Brian.
There it is.
Thanks, Brian, for that awesome super chat, buddy. We love you, man. He's such a good dude.
He is. We got to come on sometime together, too.
I would agree with that.
He's always so busy, though. Remember, he blew us off last time. You know, the last time I was supposed to be on, or the last time I came on the show, he was supposed to be on here with me. But if I can remember correctly, he blew us both off.
Yeah. You know, that's because he was starting 8 new podcasts.
That's right. He didn't have time for us anymore.
No. Hi, Shar. How are you? Good to see you. We got about 45 seconds here, buddy.
Kira loves the ocean. I love the ocean too, Kira.
Kira also eats breakfast for dinner, so.
You know, some things you have to overlook.
No.
I think I could probably overlook that.
No, I'm not overlooking that. Sorry. All right. Big thank you to Brian, GFGFGFG, Linda, Swampy, Batmom, Murray, and Black Dragon for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support this show, what we do here each and every night on the show. Big thank you to all the veterans tuning in. We absolutely love you. You always have a home here on Spaced Out Radio, and to all our regulars, much love in the chat room. Here we go with Hour 2 in the Guru.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, at KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Sangfroid. Sangfroid is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is here talking sea monsters and monsters all night long, as the guru is a fan favorite of all of our listeners. Here's some of our highest rated shows, and you can find all of his books on Amazon. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. Guru, welcome back.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dave. And we are blowing through this, my friend. Already 1:07 in the a.m.
I know. It is busy here.
It is nonstop. Just question after question. This is great.
That's why we love our guru time, my friend. Hey, sea monsters, Great Lakes. What's going on over there? Why is it so weird?
Oh, well, what is so cool about the Great Lakes, these are all glacial lakes, and what is so cool about that is that at the same time the Great Lakes were created is the same time the Lake Champlain was created and the same time that Loch Ness was created. So something was going on in that very specific geological period to allow very strange things to happen. From, the very beginning, water has always been seen mystical. It always been seen as either a conduit to the other world or a way to the underworld. So in our imaginations, in our human imaginations, water has always been seen as a gateway or a doorway. So what's unique about these bodies of water, like Lake Champlain or Lake Loch Ness, is that they're occurring in places that really these kind of waterways shouldn't be there. Loch Ness is in the Highlands of Scotland, very, very unusual. And Lake Champlain is this massive lake tucked away there in upstate New York on the Canadian border. Now, the Great Lakes is something that is entirely different. Actually, the Great Lakes is kind of a misnomer because it should really be called an inland sea because they are all connected in some way or the other. The other thing is that places like Lake Michigan and Lake Superior in particular is that these are not typical lake environments. These are environments where you would be more closely seeing ocean type of things happening. Storms rage very wild there. We have unbelievable surf in those areas, and we have a great diversity of animal life. Also, these lakes are very deep, which a lot of people don't understand either. So with all that being said, doorway to the other world.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See Club for details.
Looking for a foundation that can multitask as well as you? Maybelline's Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation is it. What does it do? More like, what doesn't it do? It's oil-free and non-comedogenic, so it won't ever clog your pores. It controls shine for a full 12 hours. It refines your pores so your skin looks smooth and perfected. It's lightweight and breathable, so your skin will never feel heavy or cakey. And it comes in 40 shades. 97% of women found their perfect shade. It's obvious why Fit Me Matte and Poreless is America's #1 foundation. Buy yours now in a bottle or pouch at Amazon.com.
And this massive amount of water in very unusual places that has all added a little bit to the mystery. Now, the other thing about these Great Lakes is that they were, whenever I talk about the last glaciers retreating, we're only talking about 14,000 years ago, which in the blink of an eye, it's a second in geological time. In my one book on lake monsters that I wrote, I posited that, if whenever the Paleo-Indians were here, whenever they had migrated over, they were already here for, a few thousand years before the Great Lakes were formed. And they could have visually watched the lakes filling up. And I think a lot of our flood stories from around the world occurred during this time whenever the glaciers were retreating and, ocean water was spilling in. I think that we can probably pinpoint a lot of our flood motifs back to about 14,000 years ago, and I'd be very comfortable in saying that. So not only were they able to watch these things fill up, but it also created a new environment for them, something new there. Now, one of my beliefs is this, and, it could be complete conjecture or whatever, but this is one of my beliefs. Over in England, especially around the Devon area, one of the greatest finds of oceanic fossils is on that particular beach. The first plesiosaur that was identified was found on that beach. So is it possible that the waters around England during the last ice age could have been the home for at least a remnant population of aquatic reptiles? Is it possible? Now, if it is possible, if we only even had a remnant population of aquatic reptiles at that time, is it possible that whenever the Great Lakes or whenever the glaciers receded and it opened up these channels into places to form Lake Loch Ness, some of these creatures then went into them? That could indeed be where the idea, at least the myth of the Loch Ness Monster came from. And through folklore and through tradition, it was told and retold to the point that we still believe that there's a plesiosaur-like animal in Loch Ness. Or is it possible that they did indeed enter Loch Ness and it was sealed off and at least you had a small population there? Again, like I said, this is all speculation and conjecture, but it makes some sort of sense about where these things came from. Now, whenever we talk about the Great Lakes, that's a whole entirely different story. We're talking about a massive amount of water. Actually, if you would empty all the Great Lakes, all of North America would be up about ankle deep. That's a lot of water to take from that area. And the First Nations have so many tales about creatures that live in there. The Meshapishu is one of the ones that they tell about, this great water lynx or water panther that inhabits Lake Superior. And so there is not only these kind of folklore things that come out, but also people have witnessed things there as well, too. Lake Champlain has a plethora of sightings year after year. And even in Lake Michigan, back in 1955, there was a report of a child being attacked by a shark. And it's very possible that a shark could enter Lake Michigan, especially a bull shark, by going up the Mississippi River. So let us just say that these Great Lakes here in North America are so unbelievably mysterious that even in the 21st century, people are still seeing things that should not be there.
But, even reports up to today, we're seeing dinosaur, dragon-like creatures that are swimming through the water with spikes on their backs, with, some claiming to have wings on their backs, especially in the Great Lakes. I mean, we're seeing, stuff that was drawn up in 1500s folklore here.
That's right. Yeah, so when the one you're talking about, that's absolutely the case. At the beginning of the show, I touched a little bit on the chupacabra. And if you look at the Mishapishu up there in Lake Superior, it's almost a carbon copy of what the original chupacabra was said to look like. A very stout little body. Sometimes it has a long serpentine tail. Sometimes it doesn't. But it has these stereotypical, almost iconic spikes all over its body. Sometimes it even has the ability to fly, which leads some people to think that this creature could also be some sort of remnant memory of UFO activity in that area as well, too. But whatever is going on, like I said, it's embedded within the oral tradition of the Native Americans up there. And that is something that I pay a lot of attention to, because these people have intrinsically been tied to this land for, at least 14, 15,000 years. And, we do not know how far these traditions go back. It's very possible that they're telling and retelling stories that have been there since the very beginning, since the genesis of the Great Lakes themselves.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we look at, say, the monsters of Lake Superior or Lake Huron or even going into Lake Ontario and Lake Michigan and Erie, do we look at, these creatures as the same as what we are seeing in Lake Champlain or Okanagan Lake where Ogopogo is?
You can. I see. That is the thing. I tend to think that these are the same, whatever they may be. Again, going back to my at least my speculation is that whenever these Great Lakes opened up, when these lakes opened up and allowed salt water to go in, there may possibly have been sea life that we thought was extinct entering these kind of openings. We know in Vermont, up in Lake Champlain, we know that at least a few wells entered that lake because the state fossil of Vermont is a well that was discovered on the banks of Lake Champlain. It was like a beluga well. So we do know that these kind of big creatures got into this area. Is it possible that something that fed upon these wells followed them in? Well, absolutely it is. We do not know what the world was like 14,000 years ago. We have no idea what kind of creatures may still have been out there. And it's very possible these creatures, like I said, and I'm not saying it was a plesiosaur, but it could have been some sort of extinct reptile, very much like the plesiosaur that through, natural selection and evolution had become a different animal altogether. But it's very possible they were still looking in the very shallow waters right off the coasts of North America and England. And whenever the ocean, whenever these gateways opened up and the ocean ran in, that they either were swept in or they followed prey animals in there. It's a whole new environment. And by these creatures entering that environment, they now become the apex predators and in control of that environment. Extremely possible, my friend.
All right, let's get to a question here from GFGFGFGFGFG. Have you had any banshee stories? She shrieks as a forewarning for family member's death. Also, Ron, are you aware of the Abhartok, an Irish vampire legend that inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula? Let's start with the banshees.
All right, yes. So banshees, and I do have banshee stories in my On Fairies book as well, because the word banshee, the she actually, the SHEE, means fairy, and the ban part is female, so it's a female fairy. And these are creatures, because they're fairies, that they straddle the two worlds at once, which means that they have knowledge of what this world offers to us. That is the unique thing about fairies, and the unique thing about ghosts that a lot of people have tended to forget, is that whenever ghosts was part of the oral tradition and the ancient tradition in Europe, that they were able to bring knowledge of the other world into our world. So whenever they were, the ominous premonitions of death, that's where they would get it from, is because they were from a different world and time is not linear. So they kind of know all things at all times. But absolutely, sometimes they would scream out a person's name. Sometimes people would see a banshee at a creek washing the clothes of somebody that was going to be dying too. So I've heard stories about there would be a haggard woman standing over a creek, and she was trying to scrub the blood out of this one particular person's surcoat, and that person was still alive. So that was kind of like the precursor to what was going to happen. But yeah, of course. So banshees, if you want to read more about them, like I said, my book On Fairies has a whole section on there. Now, the thing about vampires, the Dracula legend, and I'll go even one better here, So Bram Stoker was a sickly boy, and he spent a lot of his formative years actually laid up in bed, his proverbial sickbed, if you will. And outside of his window in Ireland was a graveyard. So he got to see, graves all of his life. And he also had this fascination and this he was always thinking about his own health. So he has this kind of relationship with the dead already. But he was also a very intelligent man as well. There is a particular ferry that occupies the wilds of Ireland. Not only are they part of the land itself, but they also have a castle there, which is extremely reminiscent of the whole vampire mythos. But that ferry's name, of course, it's in Gaelic, and I can't begin to pronounce it, but it's two words. The first syllable of that word is pronounced something like Drac or Droch, and then the last part of that, the last syllable, is Eula. So you come Dracula from that. So whenever we talk about Vlad the Impaler, the Dracul from Romania, as being the precursor or the idea, the figurehead for this particular work by Bram Stoker, it may not be all on that particular person. I think he's pulling from Irish folklore as well that has a very deep idea and belief system in these creatures that were also consume human blood.
Oh, that sounds just creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Well, these Dracula fairies would lay. So Ireland, there's a lot of desolate area in Ireland, the same way within Scotland. We think that everything is built up. So there's a lot of desolate area. So these particular fairies would lay out along like the one road that would go through a particular moorland. And they would wait for an unsuspecting traveler to come by, and then they would, of course, grab them and feed upon them and everything. These are very, morbid type of tales, but we can find these in traditions around the world, which makes me believe that there is some sort of truth to these things.
All right, let's get to Carrie Ann's question. She is asking, are there any monster clams?
Wow, yeah, you know what? I never thought about that. I think one of the reasons why people don't associate monster clams with something that's frightening is because they can't move around as readily. I seem to remember a story whenever I was a kid about a diver, I think it was off the coast of California, that almost got trapped within a giant clam. I don't have any more specifics than that, but I'm interested why that person asked that question, because I've never had anybody ask me a question about a clam before.
Well, why not? I mean, could you imagine being trapped? Or like that diver earlier this year off of Provincetown, Massachusetts, who accidentally got scooped up by a humpback whale.
Yes,
Let alone,
yes.
what the hell is he doing diving for lobsters when there's great whites all over that area?
Right. Yep,
I mean, when you're in Provincetown, and I've only been there once, if you're walking along the ocean, there are giant signs saying these waters are patrolled by great whites. Do not go swimming in them.
Yep.
That's enough warning for me, man.
That's right. See, I think a lot of our listeners, and a lot of people, whenever I go do talks, they don't understand that the oceans you find in like Atlantic City and Myrtle Beach and Virginia Beach are far different than other beaches around the world. Okay. We have vacation places, but there are some places where the beaches and the waters are very, very wild and untamed. And those places are the things that scare me, but these are also the places that I'm drawn to the most. I'm drawn to the places like in northern Maine and up into the Maritimes of Canada, where people actually work to make a living out of the ocean, and nobody is going up onto the shores with sun hats on and sunglasses and sunbathing. These are waters that are still wild. And as an investigator, I always look out into those waters and wonder what is patrolling underneath the surface of those waters.
I don't want to know.
But you do want to know. But the thing is, though, if you had knowledge of knowing, then you don't want to be around it at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, water is a mystery. Like, we probably know more about the surface of the moon than we know about our oceans. We have almost everything mapped, but there's still so many mysteries about what's going on. We really don't know what the deepest part of the ocean is yet. One of your listeners had remarked about the possibility of being like this ocean within an ocean, that apparently is absolutely true. You know, that there's this this particular volume of water that has a different density than the water around it. So we don't even know what kind of life forms might live within that ocean that's under the ocean itself. And then the idea of things that can leave that water, such as the bull shark, and enter into fresh water. And that's a whole new ballgame at this point. To think that there's things out there in the oceans that now can enter into our relatively safe world. You know, that's what happened with back in 1916 with in New Jersey, which spurred the book of Jaws along whenever some sort of shark came into the freshwater river and, killed a few people.
Oh, 2 minutes left. Ron wants to know, what's your thoughts on sirens of the ocean?
Right. Well, not only in the ocean, we actually have a lot of traditions of mermaids and sirens in rivers as well. Not only in Africa, but I live in Pennsylvania, and the Schuylkill River has actually had one report of a mermaid sighting in it. That's an absolutely true story. I've also heard somebody tell me a report that they are completely serious whenever they told me that they had a mermaid sighting in a man-made lake outside of Reno, Nevada. Now, if that is the case, then we must be talking about something that is occurring within the water itself. And that's whenever you come up with this idea of the elemental, which the great alchemist Paracelsus believed that mermaids were, that they were an intelligence that inhabited the water itself. So they were kind of like, the spirit that inhabited that particular water. Again, that's another rabbit hole we can go down to. But as of, the early 2000s, there was witch doctors that had to be called out in Africa to exorcise the mermaids out of a particular river because they said they were attacking the construction workers of a dam there.
Quickly from Nicola, 40 seconds. Nicola lives in upstate New York. Have you ever heard of any lake monsters in the Finger Lakes?
No, I have not. I have not heard. Now, remember, the Finger Lakes are made at the exact same time. These are all scoured out by the glacial retreat. But I'm not sure how deep the Finger Lakes are. And the other unique thing about the Finger Lakes is that they do not have a direct connection to the ocean in any way. So I think that might be one of the reasons why we don't have that same kind of mystique to them as these other lakes do.
Guru, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Halfway through Spaced Out Radio tonight, the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. We got him for another hour here. We're going to continue your monster talk with your questions. If you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. You can find all of his books on Amazon, including his On series. We call him the Guru around here, and the Guru speaketh right after this break on Spaced Out Radio. All right, Guru, we're clear.
All righty. It's going well, my friend.
It is. You know, it really is. We're having a good night here. Hey, Major Lee, how you doing? Max Hawthorne. Max Hawthorne is the guy we had on talking about Megalodon and this super shark.
All right.
Excalibur, Pikachu, good to see you. What was that? Dave Scott's voice can bust at my eardrums, man. Sorry about that. Peppa H, how you doing, buddy? It's good times, Guru.
Yes, it is.
Good times. You got any conferences coming up?
I don't, man. Mothman was canceled. Yeah, it's just one of those really weird things. I've had a few conferences. I'll be up at Hillview Manor next month, and then the month after that. But I'm just doing like little things. All the big stuff has pretty much been canceled.
Right on.
That's why we have to wait until next year.
That sucks, man.
It does. I love reading these things. I really do. Sir Brian weighing in, we need an SOR car.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
Escape to a world of magic and imagination. Encounter wild beasts and daring space rangers. Escape to your happy place at Walt Disney World Resort.
Conference. I do agree that I like your idea, but I do like the idea as well as having a real conference with that.
You and Brian need to start up a Guru Con. Guru Con. That is totally what is needed is Guru Con.
I've been talking to Kat about something like that as well too. Not a Guru Con. I appreciate that, but I was talking to Kat about having some sort of conference going on. I would love to see a conference being held at a university. I really would. I think that if you get enough intelligent guests lined up that can talk about this, from an academic point of view, enough so it doesn't seem like there's too much woo. Although you got to have a little bit of woo there. I think that would break down a few borders that are still standing.
Right. That would be cool, man.
It would.
That would be so cool. Kat Ward, thank you so much for the amazing super chat. G West, thank you for the amazing super chat as well. Really do appreciate the love and support, man. Thank you so much, both of you. Sasquatch, how you doing? Good to have you back. Robert Moore, good to see you, my friend. And who else has come on in here? We're good right now. We are good right now. We got about 90 seconds, brother.
All righty.
B. Hoff, good to have you here, Flat Earther. That beard is looking gorgeous tonight.
I've got a little bit of white in it too, a little bit of salt in it,
Oh yeah, that looks healthy. Looks healthy. Hey, Kevin's beard is back. Look at that, Kevin's beard from Texas. Gotta love Kevin's beard. How you doing, my friend? How's the hog hunting going? Give me an update. We got 1 minute, Guru.
All right.
I don't know. Vinny is on a break again. I don't know where the hell he is. Where's Fap tonight, too? All right, big thank you to Black Dragon, Murray, Bat Mom, Swampy, Linda, GFGFGFGFG, Brian, Kira, Kat, and G West for the amazing super chats tonight. We really love and appreciate the support of SOR. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our regulars who are here tuning us in right now, like Gorgeous Adventures with Beth. Good to see you. And we love you all. Thank you so much for making this show so much fun. Hi, Ross Lambda. And, of course, to all the veterans out there, we always make sure you have a safe home here with Spaced Out Radio. We love you, and thank you so much for all of your services. We appreciate it. We're going to get going with the Guru here in 3 seconds. Stay tuned. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've seen or heard most of this show, check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. All of his books can be found on Amazon, so make sure you check it on out. You definitely want to grab his On series. He's an award-winning author as well. Guru, we're going to start with a question from RB here in the chat room. What is your thoughts about Mothman? I grew up a couple of hours from there.
Yeah, you know what? I've only been to Point Pleasant one time, and that was a few years ago to speak at the conference. Interesting place. Now, another thing that we haven't talked about today is the possibility that some of these creatures are not only, tulpas we talked about, but what happens if they are creations from our own inventions, so to speak. So we know that there's a TNT plant there, but there also are rumors that nuclear waste was stored in that area as well. So is it possible that some of these things that we call cryptids might be mutations of otherwise readily known and identified animals? As of late, a lot of people have been proposing that the Mothman has been nothing more than a sandhill crane. And that's really almost a definitive belief now whenever we talk about science, that there was, this was on the migration pattern of sandhill cranes. Somebody saw one, and then the telephone game began. And by the time it, went down the wire, it became some sort of, flying cryptid with big red glowing eyes. I think there might be more to it than it meets the eye. I think the Mothman is again, uniquely American if you look at it from that perspective. But if you look at it from a more worldview, we have creatures like the Lamassu in Greek culture. We have the Owlman in Celtic culture of like Cornwall. So we have these ideas that there are flying humanoids out there with these kind of red glowing eyes that every now and then interact with humanity. And I am of the opinion that the Mothman resides in the same realm as the Owlman and these other kind of creatures that, for lack of a better word, have been identified as demons throughout the years. They come from some sort of place within our world that every now and then, again, I use the term, seeps into our world. Whether we talk about interdimensionality, whether we talk about portals or what have you, but somehow they're able to leave their world and enter into our world.
Are there those two different worlds, though?
Yeah. See, the way I look at it is this. I look at reality as almost like an onion, okay? So you can take off a layer and you can see through that layer. It's, it's pretty translucent. But the deeper you go, the less you can't see the whole way through. So you can see a little bit of everything fuzzy through the first layer, and it gets a little bit more cloudy as you go down. And I think that that's really the way reality is. I think that we're all layered one up on top of another, and every now and then those layers kind of fade into each other.
All right, let's go to TFV who is asking, do you think the government has engineered a look-alike cryptid copied, say, a Bigfoot or a rake?
I don't think there's been any engineering going on, but I am quite positive, almost 100% positive, 98% positive, that our government knows about these kind of creatures far more than they're letting on. Last time I was on the show, I talked about this field manual the U.S. Army put out that discussed the possibilities of a Sasquatch living in Northern California. And then if the soldiers that were training up there encountered that particular sort of wildlife, what to do and what not to do. So I think the military and I think the government does know about these things. But as far as engineering goes, I don't think that's going on.
All right, Jennifer is asking, have you ever heard of rawhide and bloody bones? My aunt used to scare me with that story. Anything to it? What could it be?
Jennifer, that would make the perfect name for a cowboy bar. I do not know anything about rawhide and bloody bones. This must be something very colloquial. I don't know where Jennifer Hawkins is from, but we need to hear more about this story, Dave. Dave, she can't leave us hanging.
Well, we'll see what she puts in the chat room to fire us up about this one. That one just kind of, scares me just looking at it. I mean,
what I'm thinking, I'm wondering if this has almost like the Wendigo type of.
I was just going to say that Wendigo
shapeshifter, yeah,
Wendigo and Skinwalker type of creatures. That's what it almost seems like. That's
what it seems like to me too. Yeah,
I mean, do you have any updates or any new stories on the Wendigo or
No, but Dave, there is a lake, I think it's in northern Wisconsin, called Lake Wendigo. I need to get there so badly. Part of the folklore is that the spirit of a Wendigo actually inhabits that lake. And there's a lot of, folklore and urban legends going around that if you wait there, you can hear the thing screaming at you or talking to you. But I know on YouTube and on social media, because I do a lot of research on there to see what is kind of have my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the paranormal world. And right now, the Skinwalker and the Wendigo is huge. And you can find a lot of footage on there of people claiming they can hear something calling out to them, something screaming out to them, whether it's their name or somebody yelling for help out in the middle of nowhere.
Interesting. There's nothing freaky about that.
You know what? The first time I started to watch these shows, these reports, I said the same thing. I said, "There's really," I was honest. I said, "There's nothing freaky about that." But then they were showing out like they were like 30 miles from the nearest road, and they were riding their horse, and the horse was kind of acting a little bit jittery, and then it would come to a dead stop, and somebody would say hello or help or call the person's name out. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying.
I love this question by Jenny. How about cryptid pigs?
Yep, absolutely. There was a gentleman that took a wild hog, I believe it was in Texas, that I think they said it weighed somewhere around. Oh, my hunters out there, you'll have to let me know. I'm thinking like this Hogzilla is what they called it, was something around 1,200 pounds. I mean, it was a massive animal. It was almost like, Pleistocene type of big megafauna. And pigs can get very big. And a lot of the pigs that are running rampant in the south of America they're feral farm animals that have resorted to a more wild behavior, and sometimes there's interbreeding going on as well. But we know that our farm pigs can get very, very big. I think that's probably what happened. Is somebody shot a farm animal that had escaped. But yeah, there are definitely reports of big, giant hogs out there. One of the best places to look at hog stories about these kind of creatures terrorizing people is in Australia, of all places, because they have quite a hog problem there as well.
Well, everything kills you in Australia.
Everything absolutely kills you in Australia. There is nothing there that wants to give you a hug. Even the cutest things that they have there. Like, I would love to reach down into a creek over there and pick up a platypus and give it a hug. But do you know what it would do? It would take that little poisonous spur of it, and it would scratch my eyes out, and it would poison me.
Yep.
Who does that? Who does that?
Yep.
Or, I would love to grab a koala bear up and, rub its nose, but it's going to kill me.
Yes. And, I'm surprised that anybody lives past the age of 35 in Australia.
Absolutely.
I'm very surprised by that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't swim in the ocean because everything there wants to kill you. You can't go on land because everything there wants to kill you. You can't swim in your own backyard pool because you got crocodiles.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't swim anywhere.
That's right. Yeah.
Horrible place.
People getting the poisonous snakes out of their bathrooms. You
can't even take a good bathroom break. Sit down and take a good bathroom break without a poisonous snake slithering up the toilet plumbing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Can't do it.
Yeah. I you know what? I would love to visit that place, but now that we're talking about this more, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, not me, man. Not me. All right, let's get to Alien Critter. Guru, do you believe that most paranormal activity can be explained by science?
I don't think that it can be explained by science, but I think that it should be considered by science. I think there should be documentation being used. I think the scientific method should be employed because in order for us to be accepted by the mainstream, we need to have some sort of proof or some sort of documentation. So that is my kind of way of thinking about that. I think that we should have more of a relationship with the scientific community. And I think the scientific community, and I'm not talking just about, physics and things like that, but I'm talking also about psychology and sociology, the kind of humanities. They should have some sort of open dialogue with us as well too, because there is all this information out there that is being unprocessed about why people see the things they do and what happens whenever people encounter these types of things.
By the way, Aussie Ange says, guys, relax. I'm in my 50s. I'm alive. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Wow.
Well,
I'll tell you.
I'll be honest with you. I've seen Ange's pictures on Instagram. There is no way she's in her 50s.
Right.
No way she's in her 50s. I'm calling serious shenanigans on that one.
Right. So she's either lying to us. Well, she has to be lying to us, and I'll tell you why she's lying to us. Because even their football over there, they play football without any kind of protection whatsoever.
Trying to kill each other.
We're trying to kill each other.
Exactly.
Even people over there want to kill other people.
Yes. Yeah. Dangerous place, that Australia.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Race Fan is asking, have you heard of any lake monsters in Washington State?
You know what? I'm sure that I probably have. And I will be quite honest. The Pacific Northwest is one of those places that I have to go explore, but I've never been there. So I'm going to have to be honest and say that I'm ignorant on that matter. But hopefully one day I'll be able to get up some investigations up there.
All right. Nicola is asking, Guru, are there any colleges that have cryptozoology courses?
Zero. Now, I will tell you this. Occasionally, you will have a college that will offer a cryptozoology course as an elective. But there is no colleges that will grant you a degree in cryptozoology. So what you have to do is you have to kind of go about it your own way. Now, my daughter is in an advanced placement biology class. And her first class that she had, the teacher talked about cryptozoology. And she stated that there is possibilities that animals out there that we do not know about exist. And what she was trying to point out is that it's good to keep an open mind about things, especially whenever you're in the world of science. I think cryptozoology is something that should be studied. There are a lot of good people out there who are looking for, and now cryptozoology, I have to tell you real quick, is not all about the woo. It's not all about Bigfoot. It's not all about, these giant reptilian creatures living in Loch Ness. cryptozoology actually is looking for animals that had lived here one time and they're no longer here, usually by people. Usually that's the case. There are very good people out there looking for the giant auk, which was a flightless water-dwelling bird. People are looking for the ivory-billed woodpecker from down around Louisiana area. There are people who are looking for stellar sea cows out in the Arctic Ocean, which were these humongous manatees that went extinct at the hands of man probably in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it doesn't all have to be about the woo. What it is, cryptozoology is trying to sort out what kind of environment these kind of creatures needed, how they interacted with that environment, what happened whenever they left that environment, and is there enough of that previous environment left to sustain at least a remnant population of them? So it all is not about people dressed up like they're going on safari looking for Bigfoot. There are actually people out there that are looking for animals that aren't quite as fun, I should say, as our friend the Bigfoot and the Yeti.
All right. So what do you think the tie is between Bigfoot and UFOs? This is a question from Brian.
Brian, all right. Okay, so it's cool that here in Western Pennsylvania, whenever I was a kid back in 1977, we had one of the worst snowstorms ever. School was closed for about 2 weeks. It was so bad that the postage didn't even go through. I mean, it was really that bad here. What was so interesting is after that winter ended, there was a outburst of UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings. Stan Gordon wrote a book on this, and it's called The Silent Invasion. So if anybody wants to read about this kind of stuff that happened in Western Pennsylvania, that is the book to get. So what happened is not only there's UFOs being reported and Bigfoot's being reported, but they're now being reported in the same place at the same time. In a place called Fayette County, which is not too far from me, probably about a half an hour drive, there was a report about a Bigfoot seen walking a fence line in a field. And as it was making its way, a UFO also appeared in the sky. Not only did a UFO appear in the sky, but the Bigfoot creature was holding a sphere that began to emit a glow, some sort of light, some sort of radiant light was coming from it, as if it was communicating with it. Also, around that same time, up in Lake Erie, there was a Bigfoot reported on the beach by a large group of people whenever a UFO was landing at the same time. And the UFO was described as causing a mini earthquake whenever it came in for a landing. So I'm lucky as a researcher and as somebody that has worked closely with people like Stan Gordon that there was something going on in the 1970s in Western Pennsylvania that had a very unique relation between the Bigfoot and the UFO phenomenon that has continued with us to this day, at least in memory of those events.
What's your favorite cryptid?
Oh, you got to go with Bigfoot. I mean, I wouldn't be here unless it was Bigfoot. You know, that's really what got me out there. And I don't know what the attraction is. I really don't. Because as a kid, I always liked dinosaurs. I mean, I always did. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like the Loch Ness Monster. But there's just something about Bigfoot because it's so like us in so many ways. It is. One person asked me, excuse me, if I considered Bigfoot my...
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See Club for details.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See Club for details.
My alter ego. I think whenever you get right down to brass tacks, that might be indeed the thing. Bigfoot represents freedom that we don't have. It represents quitting your job and growing your beard long and living out in the woods. He doesn't work 9 to 5. He makes his own rules. And there's something very attractive to that. Bigfoot and these wild men are so like us, and we could be them, but we cannot leave that connection with this world behind. So I guess in a way, Bigfoot is my alter ego.
There are a lot of really cool cryptid stories that are out there. Before I get to Jennifer's question, how come we never hear anything about the alligators underneath New York City anymore?
I know. Well, that was a big thing.
It was.
Yeah. I remember in the 70s, they were actually even making schlock films about that stuff, if you can remember. Somebody would come back from vacation in Florida, and the father said, he doesn't want the alligator anymore, and flushes it down the toilet, and somehow it either becomes contaminated or it grows, to prodigious sizes, and it starts, feeding upon the denizens of New York City. I have no idea what happened to that. The idea of snakes in the sewers, all this kind of stuff. We probably just simply moved on to bigger and better things. And you have to also remember, New York City was going through a bit of an identity crisis whenever this was going on. And now, they cleaned up Times Square and they really kind of polished themselves up a little bit. And I think that kind of faded then whenever New York changed its image.
Well, you know what? I miss those stories. I really do. We got 3.5 minutes.
I miss those stories too.
Jennifer is asking, are there any urban goblin reports that you know of, like on train tracks, in subway tunnels?
Well, you're talking about like an actual goblin, I would assume. I've not heard anything on train tracks or in subways, but I was doing a conference and this young person came up to me. They were in their mid-teens, and he had a goblin sighting for me. And I said, so I want to hear what happened. And he said that he went out to make a sandwich in the kitchen. He opened up the refrigerator, he closed it, and in the hallway, he saw what he said was a goblin, a very small little creature that was sitting there watching him. And the goblin was almost stunned, as if it came upon this guy, and there was no intention of it happening. But the goblin then simply disappeared into a wall of light, as if a portal opened or some sort of doorway opened. But that was the first goblin report that I ever had. Now, there was another report that I had. I don't know if you could call this as goblins or not, but a gentleman was taking a walk up on the Chestnut Ridge, which is a place in western Pennsylvania that I do a lot of research. The Chestnut Ridge, for those people that don't know, is a 75-mile ridge that begins in Morgantown, West Virginia, and it goes through several of our counties up here in Pennsylvania. A lot of strange things happen there. And there was a gentleman that was taking a walk, and in this clearing, he saw two things that he described as brownies, which are these little house fairies from Harry Potter, and they were wrestling with each other. And he watched it for a while, and he couldn't remember if they had clothes on or not, because their bodies so blended in with the world around them, this natural world. But anyways, as they were going about gallivanting, one of them noticed the guy was watching them. And then the thing disappeared into the side of the hill. And the guy was very clear that there was no hole there. There was no chasm. There was no way for that thing to exit in the side of the hill. It just kind of absorbed in the side of the hill. Now, the other one then went through an inventory of shapeshifts, which is exceedingly interesting in the field of cryptozoology, until it became a very large bird and flew away. As my cat comes up here, see? Yes.
That's a good-looking cat there, Guru.
That is a good-looking cat. That's my dad's cat, yeah.
That's a handsome-looking cat.
Yeah.
All right, quickly here. Let's see. Jennifer says, I've got an urban goblin story. I saw it, Ron. Where can I contact you? I have a witness as well. We got 45 seconds.
All right, so there's two ways to do this, and if you can write this up, you go to Ronald L. Murphy Jr., Ronald L. Murphy Jr. at yahoo.com. That's my direct link. Or you can friend me or like me on Facebook, Ronald Murphy, or Ronald L. Murphy Jr. is my author page. I cannot wait to talk to you about this stuff.
Yeah, that'll be good. I want to hear that.
We will. Next time in October, Dave, I will contact this person. We will talk, and we'll give you the rundown in October.
Yeah, I'm going to need that. She says, I don't know if it was a goblin, but it sure looked like one.
Hey, we'll figure this out, my dear.
All right. Guru, we got you for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. You're doing a great job. Ronald L. Murphy Jr., type that into Amazon. You can pick up any of his books. We love Guru time here on Spaced Out Radio. We got it for another 30 minutes, and then at the bottom of hour number 3, we're going to be joined by Fedora John, Stetson, Hudson, whatever you want to call him, for the Unbiased UFO Report. We'll be back with hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio next. All right, Guru, we're clear.
All right.
I'll let you chat with the audience. I'm going to take a bathroom break.
All right, and that's one of my favorite times. I love chatting with the audience.
You go. I'll be back.
All right. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see. Yeah, that is a pretty cat. So what happened was a couple days before Thanksgiving, my father unfortunately passed away due to COVID-related pneumonia. And he had this gorgeous white cat, and I already had a cat, and but I had to take the cat because it's just such a pretty, well-mannered cat. So I do want to talk. Yep, there you go, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. That's right. I do want to talk puckwudgie sometime. That's one of the things that I really have interested in too. Up there in the great, what is it? The Bridgewater Triangle up there in Massachusetts. Yeah. So brownies could be from the Sealy or the unsealy quartz, absolutely. But the way I look at this, Zuni, is that all fairies are very ambiguous in their nature, and I think it's very difficult to categorize them either as light or dark. I think they could be both at any time. Let's see here. Let's see here. Have I seen any cryptids lately? I have not. Actually, I will tell you the honest to goodness truth. I have never seen a cryptid of any kind. I found anecdotal evidence. I found footprints. I've heard some vocalizations, but it's enough to keep me going. But I've never actually seen a cryptid. Yes. So, Aaron, yes. So, the native population that I've encountered, both in Canada and the United States, have been one of the most. They're some of the most beautiful people I've ever met, and they're very open with their stories. If you legitimately have interest in gathering knowledge from them, and I would definitely like to talk to that particular tribe. The 3-foot tall grasshopper beings have often been associated. Okay, so whenever UFOs became, and I'm not sure how old you are, Kiara, but whenever UFOs were starting to be seen, we would have reports, and we have to understand the idea of abductions and actually seeing these creatures probably only go back as far as Barney and Betty Hill, at least in our collective imaginations. And they describe them very much as grays. But there was other things going on in the 70s as well, too. Other abductions, and people describe these giant insect eyes. And I think that's what we come across with this idea of these these grasshopper type of creatures. And yes, the Hockomock Swamp, absolutely up there in the Bridgewater Triangle. Native American language, I believe it's the Wampanoag, which is kind of like a warning to stay away from here. Let's see here. The fuzzy alligators of Pittsburgh. Magnus, no. I do know that there is an Algonquin legend of something called the Aquia or the Aguaya or something like that. Some sort of creature that lives in the rivers of Pittsburgh, but not the fuzzy alligator. A real quick thing about alligators. People have surmised that by the time people came to Jamestown, which was 1607, that alligators may have had a habitat as far north as the Potomac River. So that's something to think about too. The green children is something we could do an entire show on the green children, black dragon. So anytime the green children of Woolpit, absolutely, dude, absolutely.
Hey, Guru.
Jacques Lee, enough to know who he is, Brian. Yeah, enough to know who he is. Let's hear.
All right. Appreciate that, man.
Oh, no worries.
Guru time. This is why we love him, people.
So, Alien Critter wants to know what the most scariest case I've ever researched. Next month, I will be back on, and I have things to tell you and things to tell Dave that have never been reported before. So we will go into all that scary stuff next month there, Dave. Does that sound good?
That sounds perfect for our Halloween Guru special.
Yep, exactly. We'll talk some pretty scary stuff.
Yep. That works for me. You got to tune in next time, Alien Critter. That's for sure. After show? Yes, there will be an after show with our good friend Fedora. I'm not supposed to call him Stetson anymore because I know it's not a Stetson. It's a Fedora John. All right, so we'll get that to him. I want to say a big thank you to Black Dragon, Murray, Batmom, Swampy, Linda, GFG, Brian, Kira, Kat from Paranormal Heart, and G West for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Thank you to all the veterans who have tuned on in. You always have a home here at Spaced Out Radio. And all our regulars who are here nightly, we absolutely love you. We couldn't do it without you. You guys make it so much fun. Here comes hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Let's kick off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Sangfroid. Sangfroid is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduced the crypto guru, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. He is a fan favorite of ours as he talks cryptids all night long. And, of course, the guru's books can be found on Amazon. Search Ronald L. Murphy Jr. He's an award winner. You will absolutely love his writing style. Guru, welcome back.
Hey, thank you very much, my friend. I cannot believe that we're down to our last, what are we have like 23 minutes. And this just flew by. So we talk about time not existing. You know, a lot of times I've said things like that. Time is not linear. It's just a human construction. And times like this, it really does show because this just flew by.
True, but we should tell our audience that you will be on with us next month as well, where you're going to tell some real creepy Halloween-type spooky stories.
And they're all genuine. So these will be stories that I usually don't share things about my research. I'll write about them and I'll put them into books. But a lot of things that I research come out very, very personal. And there's one particular story that I have next month that hit a lot of nerves as a dad and everything. So I do want to bring that up. So I probably have at least a couple hours of stories that has happened in my own personal investigations that you guys will be the first ever to listen to.
All right. We look forward to that next month for our Halloween special with the Guru. Evan is asking, have we been able to figure out how long Sasquatch live?
Yeah. Well, again, so these are all great questions. But we have to assume that, first of all, that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood animal. So we can look at, relatives, if you will, in the natural world. And you could say, how long does a silverback gorilla live? How long does a human being live? So I would think that, a range that you would put on there is, for a high range, anywhere from like 35 to 55 years old. But the wild is a very dangerous place. And I would doubt that a creature like that would make it very long in the wild. But I mean, it's extremely possible as well, too. But from a biological point of view, it's very rare that these kind of creatures would reach a very ancient age in the wild.
Wow. All right. Well, let's move on to TFV. Are gargoyle cryptids and anything interesting about them as of late? Have you had any new reports?
No, there was this gargoyle wave of sightings in my neck of the woods a few years ago, where people were seeing this creature that looked like it had these leathery wings. It had this very odd-shaped oval head that went back almost to a crest. And it was very odd, but people were seeing these in an area called Shakora, which is a few, 20 or so miles outside of Pittsburgh. And they called it the Shakora gargoyle. I started to look at some of the eyewitness reports. And what it seemed to me is this. Again, I brought this up before at a conference, and a lot of people say that I was full of it. But what this gargoyle seemed to look like is somebody that was wearing, if not a wingsuit, but somebody that might have been using some sort of paraglider. What they were saying was an elongated head looked very much in the drawings as somebody that was wearing a helmet that was built for aerodynamics. And these wings that they said it had looked almost like a cape, as if it could have been one of these sailing suits that people wear. Now, those are very expensive. This area would not be a prime area for such things. But if somebody was going to orchestrate a hoax, that would be the way to do it. So the jury is still out on there, but I think that I can find a lot of antecedents in the modern world that looks like this was, if not an outright hoax, somebody, misinterpreted what they saw to be something that was very human in origin.
All right. Have you ever heard of the fuzzy alligators in Pittsburgh? Magnus wants to know.
No, and whenever you were on your hiatus there, I never heard about this before. The Algonquin Indians around the Three Rivers there in Pittsburgh reported that there was something called an agua, something along those lines. I think it was probably pronounced close to agua, but of course it would have been, anglicized and everything. But they reported that before the white settlers came into the area, there was a creature that occupied these rivers in Pittsburgh that would come up and snatch deer from the bank, while they fed. A couple things about this. Are these boogeyman stories that keep native children away from a very dangerous river? Possibly. Could it be a very large fish? Well, the only thing that could bring a deer down off of an embankment would possibly be a bull shark. And we know that you can get to the Ohio River if you really try hard enough by going up the Mississippi River. So a bull shark indeed could have done such a trip, and that could have been the origins of this. But as I was saying to the viewers before you came on, at the founding of Jamestown in 1607, it has been speculated that the American alligators range may have been as far north as the Potomac River in Virginia. That being said, if there would have been a period of drought seasons and very mild winters, it's not probable, but it is possible that an alligator could have come as far as Pittsburgh.
All right, TFV is asking, have you ever looked into flying rods?
I have. So the show, and this was one of the greatest shows, I think, that was ever on television. That was called Monster Quest. It did a great show on these flying rods. And what it showed is that these rods seemed to be insects whose flights matched up with the photography of the film or the photography of the camera that was being utilized. So it would appear as a very elongated tube with these kind of, leathery wings that were flying through. I think that is indeed what has been going on in most cases. I received, and this is probably going back 6 years ago, I received a video from somebody's game camera who lived, about 20 miles from where I was, and he said, take a look at this. So there was what you would call a rod, one of the stereotypical type of rods, that straight line, but it appeared as if it had a thorax. Now, this was in the wintertime, and you might be able to say it was a bug. Now, you could probably even say that it was a bug in the wintertime because strange things happen. I have found frogs and snakes wandering around in the snow before. So it's not beyond the question.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
Can you feel it? 50 years of magic are about to transform the entire Walt Disney World Resort into the world's most magical celebration. Explore amazing lands filled with favorite attractions. Have big fun being small in the new Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. And feel the unifying magic of Disney music in the new nighttime spectacular, Harmonious. It all starts October 1st. Discover more at disneyworld.com/50.
A stray bug is still out whenever there's snow on the ground. But what is interesting is whatever this rod was, it actually grabbed the game camera and moved it. So that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. That was the last time I've ever seen anything like that. But, of course, the jury is still out. The search still goes on.
All right, follow up. What about the one over in the airport and in an urban setting?
A rod are we talking about?
Yes.
Or, okay. I'm not familiar with that one particular. I don't know that one. I've not seen any video evidence of that or anything, but I will definitely look that up.
All right. Zune is asking, what's your thoughts on the beast of Gévaudan?
Of Gévaudan. So this is one of my favorite things to talk about, guys. This is like a show in and of itself. So this is during the French and Indian War. So France already is pretty strapped for money. They're fighting the First World War that has theaters in right. I actually live in an area where much of the French and Indian War was fought. 10 miles down the road, we have forts that are dedicated to this, So this was a time whenever France was at war. And what happens is in the outskirts of the peasant communities, people start showing up dead. And I'm not talking about like one or two people. Some people put the kill total up as high as 300 people. This is something very serious going on, to the point that King Louis is having a bit of a problem with it. His people are scared, and even though he's at war, he still sends out an attachment of his royal huntsmen to try to kill this. And they assume that it's a wolf. Although the people that report seeing this creature said it's about the size of a cow. It's a very large creature, something like they've never seen before. But the killings go on. The huntsmen come out. They kill a particular animal. It's a very, very large wolf. They have it stuffed. They take it to King Louis. But guess what? Like the next day, like 3 children are killed at one time. It's just so bizarre. And then they send a guy out by the name of Jean Chastel, who says he's going to be able to get this creature, and he uses a silver bullet. The first time silver is ever used against one of these kind of creatures, and he kills it. A very, very large wolf that doesn't actually appear to be a wolf. It's something strange, what have you. But as you look deeper into the story, this is the time of the Enlightenment, and people wanted to show how intelligent they were by having menageries, which are like private zoos. And people would have peacocks, and sometimes they would have, other strange things, bears and such. We know Jean Chastel had a menagerie. We also know that he had lions in that menagerie, and we also know that he had hyenas in that menagerie. One of my theories is, because he became quite rich after this, one of my theories is he simply opened the door to his menagerie, let a few of his animals out, and they preyed upon the people. There was enough hysteria going around wherever he then went out, became the hero, and collected a very large sum of money. That is probably the most logical thing that happened, but some people also are claiming that it's a werewolf, which, there's also speculation that maybe one of Jean Chastel's family members was a werewolf, and he knew how to get rid of it, and that's what happened to the Beast of Gévaudan. But that's a show in and of itself, one of my favorite stories.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's go to another question. Joe is asking, have you ever heard of the Van Meter monster?
I have.
What is this one about?
Yeah, okay, this is like this is kind of like a Mothman. This is kind of like a Spring Hill Jack. This is kind of Jack the Ripper, all rolled into one. A very strange type of Victorian thing that was seen. Sparks flying from his heels. He could fly. He could shoot fire and lightning from his hands and from his eyes. Just a really, really weird type of incident that was going on.
What kind of creature is it?
We don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, whenever you look at it, you can't really say that this is a cryptid. You could say it is. Some people assume that it was an extraterrestrial because it seemed to have so many kind of attributes that would, electricity and stuff like that. Some people claim that it was a demon, and some people claim that it was just simply a figment of the imagination or a stunt pulled off by the newspaper.
Weird. There's a lot of that kind of goes around, though, isn't there?
There is, yeah. So before television, people had to sell newspapers, and they would sometimes come up with very outlandish stories. In my opinion, most of the stories are not outlandish, okay? I think every now and then you would have some journalists that would go out there and make up a story to sell papers. But I think a lot of these newspapers were truly reporting on instances that were being told to them. So it's very hard because you could say all these newspaper stories that talk about giants. Well, that was just trying to sell newspapers. Not in those cases, I don't think. Things like the Van Meter monster, probably. Giants, absolutely not, because you would find them, in the late 1800s up into the early 1900s, whenever people were reporting finding giants on the property. And one of the interesting things about this is whenever these giants were uncovered, it usually named a name. It had a source to it. It wasn't anything that was anonymous. So I think that whenever we look at newspapers, it cannot always be ruled out as some sort of trick to sell newspapers. I think there is serious journalism going on there too.
Guru, we got you for another 7 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Crypto Guru Ronald Murphy talking weird creatures all night long. Ron, I know I've asked you this in the past, but I love asking you this question because our audience is always changing.
Mm-hmm.
We know about Bigfoot. We know about Dogman, goblins, gargoyles, mermaids, sea monsters. What is your favorite lesser-known cryptid that needs more research and needs to get out in the public a little bit more?
Wow, that is a good one, man. Well, there's this one called a waterhound in Ireland. I cannot begin to give you the Irish translation of that name, but it seems to represent a very large otter. I mean, at least that's how it's portrayed. To the point that somebody back in the 1800s was actually killed by one of these creatures, and somebody drew a picture on the tombstone. People report seeing this creature to this day. And we do know that otters are capable of getting very, very large. And we also know, it's kind of like that Australia effect, we know that they're not all cute and cuddly little animals. They're predatory creatures. But this creature was big enough to occasionally chase down people and prey upon people. So the water hound or the water dog of Ireland is really one of my favorite ones. The Grey Man of the Highlands of Scotland, Ben McDooey, is one of my favorites as well too. Sometimes it appears as a Bigfoot creature. Sometimes it appears as a gray mist. That's another one that is extremely close to my heart as well. I think you just have little regional things like the Puckwedgie up in Massachusetts. And the Albert Witch here in Pennsylvania, which is kind of like a little mini version of Bigfoot. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's really too many to mention. I would love to be out in the field looking for any of them.
You know which one really hits for me is over in Iceland with all of the little people.
Yeah, that's right.
Where literally, if they assume there is little people in an area, they will divert roads. They will divert construction in order to protect these creatures.
Yep, it happens all the time, as a matter of fact. If they're building a road and they come across even a boulder, something that reminds them or something that elicits some sort of feeling that this belongs to these little creatures, they will, as you said, divert entire highway systems around these things. So you'll have a tree standing out in the middle of nowhere and the highway going by because they believed it was the home of an elf, a fairy creature, what have you.
Gnome Squatch says night crawlers are quite underrated.
Yeah, night crawlers are a little underrated, but there's very little known about them as well, too. Besides those couple videos, there's really nothing else has been done about them. I would love to see more evidence about them, but as of now, people are saying that it's a hoax because we don't have anything else.
For B. Hoff, Duende. What's the Duende?
Okay, that's kind of like the South American version of a gnome. But the cool thing about duende, though, that's actually a Celtic word, and that refers to a group of fairies, a group of the ancestral race, I guess you could say. It's the genesis for these kind of supernatural creatures.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why do you think we don't focus on the little cryptids very much? Like the little people First Nations talk about, like the gnomes, like the leprechauns in Ireland, where there's literally forests that have areas that you cannot enter because they believe leprechauns live there. I mean, there's a lot of this folklore of little people as we got 3 minutes left.
Yeah. Well, I will answer it the way J.R.R. Tolkien described it. He said that the Victorians ruined our perception of little people. They so infanticide, they made them into things of children. They made them into fairy tales that they've lost their luster and they've lost any kind of reality in our world. So I blame those gosh darn Victorians that made them into something that they weren't, and that we kind of push them away from us now, and we won't believe in them anymore because they're the stuff of, fairy tales.
Do they need more research?
Oh, absolutely. That's my big thing. Like, if you would say, Ron, what do you believe in? Is there a Bigfoot? Is there this? Is there that? I would say that these could all be explained as manifestations of the elemental intelligences that we need to study even more.
Wow. B. Hoff
Yeah.
says, I only know about the duende by researching goblins. Pretty sure I encountered one as a child.
Wow. I wonder where that was located.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Guru, we got about just over 90 seconds left with you tonight, and it is always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. You are like family around here, and
that.
I look forward to you coming back on the show in October, where we're going to get into a lot of spooky stories that you've never told on any other show before.
That's exactly right. And I guess you have the capability. How about like in the next month, I start sending over some pictures as well, too, so we can share some pictures of some of the things I've encountered as well.
Well, our radio audience will have to check out the archives for that then.
Okay.
Tell our listeners where they can find you, your information, and all your books.
Okay, so you go to Amazon. That's where everything is done anymore, on Amazon. You can theoretically go to your local bookstore and order my books there as well too, but they're going to charge you, shipping and handling. So I would just do the Amazon thing. It's going to be a lot cheaper for you. Or you could contact me directly, and I would have no problem sending you out a book for probably far cheaper than it would cost for you to buy it on Amazon. You can get in touch with me with Ronald L. Murphy Jr. at yahoo.com. That is my direct email address. I would love to talk to you. Friend me on Facebook, Ronald Murphy, and like my my author page, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. And I will be doing really no big conferences this year because of the whole COVID thing. But hopefully 2022 will be a whole new world, and we'll be able to get out there, and I'll be able to actually meet people in person.
Guru, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio once again. You were like family. It's been about 6 years since we've been doing this, man. And I really appreciate you, brother.
Man, I appreciate you too, Dave. I love you as a brother. That's true. And the reason I like coming on this show is because every single one of these individuals really have a desire to get to the bottom of these questions of life, and I'm glad I'm here for it. Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we have John Hudson in the Unbiased UFO Report, and so much more on Spaced Out Radio next.
Thank you,
Good job,
Dave.
Guru.
I appreciate it. I really do. And all these people over here, I hope that I do hear from you guys. I would love to talk, even if you do not agree with my point of view. I like to listen to other people's opposing points of view, because that can only, enliven me and educate me more. So yeah, I would love to be able to talk to these guys more. But seriously, next month, put it on the calendar. It's going to be an awesome show.
Yeah, next month you will be with us on the 15th, October 15th.
Sounds excellent.
Sounds
excellent.
All right, buddy. I got to run here. I got to get ready for the UFO report.
Yep.
But I love you, brother, and thank you for saving the beard for this show, okay?
Yep. That's right. That's right. We'll see you next time, brother.
We got to get a robe for you, a special robe and staff. Oh, you cut out too quick. I think the Guru needs a robe and staff. That's what I think. I think that would look awesome. I think that would look completely awesome for the Guru. I believe it. I totally believe it. Hey, Chad Smith, what's happening? I am Chad Smith. I am Chad Smith. I'm Chad Smith. I'm Chad Smith. No middle name, just I'm Chad Smith. I'm Chad Smith. I am Chad Smith. Who the hell are you? You're a Chad one, Mr. Smith. Be humble, be helpful. That's what Chad Smith always told me as a kid. Good advice there, Behoff. Chad Smith is the Chad Smith. Magnus. Chad, I am Chad Smith. Smith. Very nice. Sandra needs more Chad in her life. Witchy says, Chad Smith, you are a nice one. That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, Justin's apparently Chad Smith. All right, here comes Fedora John, a.k.a. Chad Smith.
How you doing, sir?
Good, buddy. How are you? You hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you fine.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I got another friggin' moth in here. I got two of them in here now.
Your selection of the things that you like and don't like, the things that you're afraid of and not afraid of, completely violate all laws of logic.
Don't blame me. Blame Chad Smith.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. That one's on my Texas flag. That one's up on the roof. Mm-hmm.
Well, you there?
I am.
Yeah, sorry. I had a small network problem for a second. Had to fix.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, Logan. How you doing, buddy?
How's your throat doing?
Not bad.
Good.
Not bad. I'm not afraid of the moths. I just can't stand moths. They're annoying. I gotta get rid of this guy. This guy's pissing me off here. Hold on. I'm not even gonna kill this guy. Oh, he got away. He got away. Oh, see, now he went behind the wall and... Oh, son of a gun. He saw me coming. I moved too quick. I moved way too quick. I needed more stealth there, and I didn't do it. All right, big thank you to Spooky, G. West, Kat, Kira, Brian, GFGFGFGFG, Linda, Swampy, Batmom, Murray, and Black Dragon for the awesome super chats. Hey, Smoky Mountain Wanderer, how are you? And the fellow Chad Smithians, thank you to all the veterans tuning on in, because we absolutely love it here. You always have a safe home here with us. Thank you to all of our regulars who are tuning in. Don't forget the after show with John happens right after this. Here we go, everyone. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the unbiased UFO report. Fedora John Hudson is back, and you know we love it when he's here breaking down the latest UFO news. John, it is always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. And you know what? I'm going to grind my teeth through this first one. That's for sure. I am going to grind my teeth. Tom DeLonge getting vindication through an Esquire magazine article? Come on.
I almost didn't even bother putting any other items in my list because I figured this one article would take all of our time. Yeah, I mean, first off, I think that the person who wrote this has been listening to your show, and I think they wrote this just for you.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See Club for details.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See Club for details.
Hell of a title. The way it was written, it almost seems like this might have somehow been tied into that video interview we saw recently with him on the beach. If it's not the same interview, then he was doing multiple interviews the same day, because the writer describes the same scene that we saw in the video interview of him. But I gotta say, I was kind of blown away by the article. It was actually a kind of an interesting article, and the writer of it really put a lot of effort into rationalizing and grasping the concepts that Tom was talking about. And I mean, as well as I do how Tom talks, right? I mean, he takes some of the deeper concepts that you and I, deal with in our research, and just kind of, just dumps them out into conversation, and just blah blah blah, and it catches people off guard. And she really tried to, internalize it, and they talked about spoon bending, they talked about Bigfoot, they talked about UFOs. They talked about, he explained his hypothesis that essentially that time is unified, and that that all timelines happen at the same time, and that UFOs are just others from other timelines that are able to slip through to our timeline, and that they're more like submarines displacing space time than ships. And I mean, he covers the gambit. For an interview that wasn't very long, he covered the gambit of topics, and the writer really tried to grasp what he was talking about. And I don't know if they succeeded or not, but what I was kind of surprised that I came away with was this realization that if someone who's totally foreign to these concepts is presented these concepts in an environment where they have an open mind, I guess what I'm coming to is it left me with a lot more hope than I thought it would, that essentially a lot of the more difficult concepts that folks like you and I study are going to be actually considered, and people are going to actually try to understand them that don't do this kind of research.
Okay, I'll give you that, and Esquire magazine's a pretty big magazine to do an article on. I get that,
yeah.
And I can appreciate the run on that and the fact that he did the article. Good for him. Do you think that with his recent podcast that he did with Jim Semivan, and he's done now 2 interviews, do you think that he's trying to rebuild his name in ufology right now?
Oh, absolutely. And, and personally, I would advise him to do that exact thing. Now, on that same personal note, I would suggest he did it a little bit longer, give a little more, give him a little more breathing room between, past events and now. But I think he feels a fair amount of pressure to do this because of of what he thinks is coming next. And then the flip side of it too is that he still is the CEO of a media company that is producing movies and books that a lot of the people in this community actually really enjoy. And so there is still a business there to support, and he needs to have a at least somewhat of a reputation in this field to be able to be CEO of a company like that.
Well,
so I think
outside of UFO Twitter, he has no reputation. He blew that reputation.
Well, that's what I thought, but he just got this beautiful article on Esquire.
Yeah, but anybody could write a fluff piece, though.
I know, but I guess what I found myself thinking about, Dave, and it kind of made me giggle a little bit, to be really honest with you, because of the conversations you and I've had. But it's the realization that the average person is not going to take the kind of discerning eye to Tom DeLonge that a lot of people in this community would or have, and so they're going to look at a lot of little pieces of information that are in the mainstream media and stitch those together to form an opinion of him. And my personal guess at this point is that he pulls it off. My personal guess at this point is that he does get vindicated, and at least in the mainstream media, he becomes a bit of a darling when it comes to this topic.
Well, we'll see how much media attention he could get, because, his sister, Carrie DeLonge, is his press person. And
he could just take his clothes off. And, it's worked before.
Well, yeah, so he says. Look, I don't have anything against Tom DeLonge, the gentleman. I don't know the man. I will fully admit I like Blink-182. I wish he would go back there. Okay? I really do. Okay, the album, Take Off Your Clothes and Jacket, was fantastic. It really was. But he has just, to me... I'm going to put it this way. Tom DeLonge, to me, is everything that is wrong with ufology. And I know that's a strong statement to make, but from alienating the UFO people who've been doing this for decades, the experiencers who've been experiencing for decades, he had an opportunity. I was told by an insider this, very close to this situation. They knew, starting the TTSA, that they had an opportunity to really bring ufology together and really make a major, major statement with all of us behind them. They had more people than every NFL stadium filled behind them. And the first thing that they did was they cut out ufology. They cut out all the researchers. They cut out everybody who had experiences. They cut out their biggest supporters. And that was one of the black eyes that killed the TTSA, and sees it in the remnants we see it today. And that's all because of DeLonge. It's not because of Semivan. It's not because of Robert Bigelow. It's not because of Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon or Steve Justice or Hal Puthoff or anybody else involved. Gary Nolan for his short time when he was there. Okay? This is all on DeLonge. And for the fact that he's now going to try and rebuild himself, hey, I'm all about second chances, but are you going to do it right this time, or are you going to play rock star again in the UFO field?
Well, look, Dave, I think what it comes down to is I think that I think all your criticisms of the way he handled this are all very valid in almost everyone's eyes. I think that your emotional reaction to that stuff is completely valid and normal, because this is a research field that you obviously care a little more than a little about, right? I mean, you've put a lot of your personal life into this field, right? And he basically, flittered on over and danced all over the semi. I mean, it's like, he like everything you said, he did to something that a lot of people really care about and should care about. And so it's hard not to take offense to that. And I totally get that. But for me, while I liked Blink-182, I wasn't a big fan. For me, it's that, with me, to be very honest, it's me. Tom and I are close to the same age. We both grew up in California around the same time. We had a lot of the same influences. To me, he's just another UFO nut that loves the topic and got a little over his skis.
And there's nothing
so
wrong with
if he
that.
wants to slide back into that researcher role, I'm all for that.
I'm all for that too. Okay, but he's been put on a pedestal since day one. Okay, when he was named by the International UFO Congress as Researcher of the Year, before his book came out and before the To the Stars Academy even was formed. All right? Because certain organizers for that event were already kissing his butt. All right?
It was kind of like when they gave Obama the what was it Nobel Peace Prize, I think it was.
Too political.
They gave it to him like his first year. No, but I'm saying it was a similar idea that someone got an award for what they were going to do versus what they had already done.
Absolutely.
And because of the amount of excitement, right? And then it hurt them because they got it too early, right?
Right.
So that's the comparison I'm drawing.
I see where you're going with that.
I mean, it was, no, I mean, I totally forgot about that. And, I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I guarantee you in hindsight, well, I would hope in hindsight, he would play this out completely differently.
I don't see it.
And and maybe you're right. And maybe that's just who Tom is, but I agree with what you said earlier. And it bothers me personally that I think there was an opportunity. I think there was a really nice, there's always going to be division. There's always going to be Pepsi versus Coke, but I think there was a real opportunity to create a unifying group within this community, and they didn't just not pull it off. They went in the complete opposite direction, and in many ways made it worse.
And I wish I could give up my source on that. I really, really wish I could give up my source, because my source is very close to this situation and has filled me in on a lot of the back story of what happened there. And
honestly, I don't think you need to give away your source. I don't think what your source told you is it in any way, shape, or form unbelievable. I think it's something most people will just accept as true because it sounds completely logical.
No, I understand that, my man. I understand that. My thing is now I'm grinding my gears because I was happy that Tom DeLonge had gone away. Okay? I really was, because I was sick of the game. I was sick of the "what if I told you." I was sick of sick of the posts that he would post some fake UFO video and 2 hours later would yank it down, which, by the way, insiders tell me this was a big, big no-no for that group, and they asked him a number of times to stop, and finally they started threatening him that if you continue this, we are going to resign. That is insider info right there. Okay, and Tom,
I heard it went as far as people developing a little bit of PTSD, that when their phones would go off, they were scared that oh no, what's Tom done now?
What's Tom done now? I mean, here's the thing. I even put this in my 14 reasons. Okay, there's a time to rock star, and there's a time not to rock star. And throughout his TTSA career, he's always chosen time not to rock star, if that makes any sense.
He's consistent. I'll give him that.
Yes, very, very consistent. And I hope he comes in with a different attitude. I don't expect it. I expect it to be much the same, where it's screw you, ufology. I'll do what I want, and look what I got, and look at me, and follow me once again. And
well, his
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say his theory of everything interview he did with Jim Semivan sitting there with him. If he'd behaved like that from the beginning, it would have been a whole different ballgame. Semivan was clearly had a huge influence on him.
Well, I mean, that is a good mentor to have. And one of the big questions is, in the UFO world, why is Semivan stepped with him and stuck with him? And I do know that Semivan has listened to our show to check out what we've said about this whole situation. He has.
He's probably hoping Tom will teach him those 3 chords he knows.
God, I need to learn those 3 chords again. I almost got 2 of them. I got 2 of them. I need that third one. I forget it again. All right. We got time for one more story here, my friend. And
yes,
the Demi Lovato trailer is released. Let's stick with the celebs.
Yes. And I mean, I don't think it's bad. I mean, I mean, everyone should check it out. I'll post a link later. The hard thing for me is I don't have a terribly strong opinion of or a terribly happy view of pretty much all the other paranormal content out there. And so she doesn't have a huge bar to hit, And with that in mind, I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, I'll check it out. At least one episode. I encourage everyone to check it out. She's definitely taking it seriously.
Hey, I'll be the bad guy here again, ×2. All right. Boy, you're coming off looking like roses tonight. All right. I think, and I haven't seen the trailer yet, but I've seen some photo shoots, I've seen some interviews, and I've talked to people who have worked with this show. And this is one thing I'll say. They say it's something different. It's something new. I think Demi Lovato is going to bring in an entirely young core of people who will now have interest. That's the pluses. What I would have liked to have seen is I would love to have seen her not investigating on her own, because now it looks more like Rob Lowe and his sons running around America looking for Bigfoot, ghosts, and aliens. I would like to have seen her and her two friends have somebody in the UFO field, a real veteran, doesn't matter who it is, a real trusted veteran, go along.
Grab an Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Absolutely.
Just one Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Exactly.
Going with you on your adventure. Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And I think that would change the entire dynamic of the show. But unfortunately for her, in the UFO world, she is going to be laughed at. The TV companies, they don't care, because what they look at is 55 million people following her on Twitter and another 55 plus million following her on Instagram, and that is their audience. That whole upcoming Disney kids who grew up with her are all watching it. They're following her music. My daughter is one of them.
I know, and I agree with everything you said. Now, the one danger to all of us, the one danger that we all have to consider is that she got initiated by Greer.
Yes.
And so all this press that she's creating could bring Greer a lot of influence. And while she may end up being a welcomed member of our community, we all know the challenges we have with Greer.
I hope she follows through, and this isn't just a one-hit wonder like most of her music. All right, John, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much.
Well, no, I'll be around in a couple minutes, yeah?
Yeah, for the round table.
Yeah.
Radio side, though. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Thank you, sir.
The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show. Let's see what Shirky Poo has for us tonight. If there's a dentist out there willing to treat an apex predator underwater, we've got a gig for you. A recent cage diving expedition around Mexico's Guadalupe Island revealed a great white shark with a mouth that didn't have many teeth in it. No, you know what? I think this great white's been playing hockey up here in Canada. Literally missing almost all its front teeth. Yeah, I bet you this thing is fought. You know, there's not really many tough guys in the NHL anymore, so I think it fought Ryan Reeves. Yeah, I think so. Because this thing looks... No, we're not talking jaws here. We're talking gums. Pretty unusual for a shark to have that many missing teeth. Martin Graff, owner of Shark Diver, has said... Anyone know a dentist he goes and posts on his Instagram account after taking the photo of the missing tooth shark? It's definitely a Canadian shark. Canadian great white. Had to be born up here. Yeah, but doesn't need any Crest toothpaste, that's for sure. Moving on. Near the end of August, residents of Mississauga, Ontario, where we broadcast on Saga 960 AM, spotted a UFO flying through the sky. It was clearly documented, undeniable evidence that aliens were in the center of the universe. However, there's a plot twist here. It was not a UFO. No, it was an enlarged helium-induced Mr. Peanut that was floating across the sky. Yes, you know, I'm even looking at this, and you can totally tell it's Mr. Peanut. Come on, Mississauga, we're better than this. This is why I am so glad Jody and the crew have actually picked up our show the last almost 2 years now. Almost 2 years we've been broadcasting on Saga 960. Because now I can tell you the difference between a Mr. Peanut hot air balloon and a UFO. Thank goodness for Spaced Out Radio on Saga 960. I know Jody's going to laugh at that when she gets this show. I know she's going to hear this because she listens all the time. Jody, we're winning now. We are winning on Saga 960 because we are telling the audience that Mr. Peanut balloons are not UFOs. Speaking of UFOs, debris from several UFO cases dating back to 1947 are now being studied by Dr. Gary Nolan at Stanford University's Nolan Lab. In a recent interview with KQED, Nolan has discussed how he got involved in UFO studies and is loving his new research. Nolan says that working on UFOs metamaterials, nothing like it. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking her in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thanks to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hanging out at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
Make a mistake, we're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Want to get a hot and perfect body fast? Just eat lots of bananas, but peels only. And always be sweating, but never look sweaty. That's disgusting.
Don't follow extreme routines. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness. Join now through September 16th for just $1 down and get back to a real routine with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join today for $1 down, $10 a month, and cancel anytime. Deal ends September 16th.
Join today for $1 down. Offer ends September 16th.
See club for details.
This is the magic we've been waiting for. The Walt Disney World 50th anniversary calls us here. The world's most magical celebration is drawing near. Starting October 1st, join us and make the magic soar. Visit DisneyWorld.com/50 for more.